What is going on, everybody? We are back.
We are back.
For more movie brackets. This is what, our fifth week?
Yes.
Fifth week. We've survived?
Sixth week. Sixth week.
We've survived 6 whole weeks of this so far, which I feel like in itself is a bit of a miracle.
Yeah.
So we're back. I'm ready. I've got my tea here with my Ray mug. I've got my Crimson Peak Was Good shirt. I'm ready to go today. I've got everything where it should be, going how it should be at this point, which means it can only go downhill from here. this one I think is going to be particularly heartbreaking. So I reckon we just run straight into it and start bringing in our crew. We are, of course, going to bring in the Jackals, Jesse and Lauren. Hey, how are yous?
Hey.
Hey.
As I mentioned in our little group chat, this week is stressing my dad out, so we'll see how it goes.
We are also introducing Marisol. How are you?
I'm feeling really good. I'm not as... Taylor, you look locked and loaded and ready to go. I don't know if I'm at her level, but I'm going to try to be really quickly.
It took me 6 weeks to get to this level, but we're here. We're doing it.
And we are, of course, joined by the lovely Mara Canopic. How are you? Oh, and her cats.
And this one's Sir Pounce, in case Adam was wondering. I have still over 100 stitches, but I've popped a few more. So every week I just want to keep count. And that way, maybe by the time this is over, they'll all be gone.
Maybe. Yeah, what comes out first? All your stitches or we finish this bracket?
Probably the bracket.
Oh, no.
Oh, man. And we are, of course, joined by the wonderful Mr. Adam Collins. How are you?
When do I get a lovely coyote introduction?
That's fair. I will do that next week. Lovely coyote. That's next week.
All right. I've done Shut it, Jackal. By the way, jackals just try and look like coyotes. You know it's true.
Well, that's why every time when I was trying to find GIFs to post on Twitter, I looked at the jackal. I was like, these are all coyotes.
I know. It's not fair. It's not. Christian didn't think that one through. That's why I've been leaning into the Wile E. Coyote GIF lately, to kind of free up that real estate a little bit. But you could use actual jackal labeled GIFs. I won't get mad at that. But no, in all seriousness, I'm thrilled to be back, and I hope I earn my my lovely next week.
You will.
Okay.
All right.
Are we just going to jump into this?
We're going to jump into this one because we start off with Mari using her. Oh, and Jesse has a button.
Jesse has a button.
What?
He
has a button for Jesse, I think you might want to just use it for this first one.
Oh, we found the
button. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade versus The Dark Knight.
Hey, everyone.
Jesse.
Look. Jacob's an asshole.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
I really like it. Sounds like it's coming out of like an old-timey megaphone, too.
You yelled at us from down the tunnel.
So we begin with, I'm going to start with Jesse. Where are you going? Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade or The Dark Knight?
All right. Start with some hot takes. I don't like The Dark Knight. I think it is a well-constructed movie, but I think it's kind of similar how I feel about Iron Man 3. It's a well-directed movie, but I thought Iron Man 3 is a bad Iron Man movie. The Dark Knight didn't work as a Batman movie for me.
We have had many arguments.
I respect everyone's how they feel about this. I feel different from a number of reasons. I don't want to go in forward with all my thoughts I've been collecting for more than a decade, like a decade and a half almost at this point. I just have feelings about this movie. Heath Ledger's performance can't be topped. I love that. I think Christian Bale's a really good Bruce Wayne. I just think that movie, the Dark Knight character in Nolan's films lacks independence. And I think that's something that is very important in the comics, that he's very, even though he has his Alfreds and stuff, he's very self-sufficient. He's a creator. He's an inventor. And in this movie, he's just merely adequate at punching people. and I wanted more from my Batman movies. So with that, Last Crusade is my favorite indie film, so it's actually a really easy choice for me.
All right. Adam.
Yeah, two things related to Mara's comments I meant to say. Hello, Sir Pounce. Good to meet you. And I popped my wisdom teeth stitches when I was seeing Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. I remember sitting in the theater and they just came loose, and I just had to kind of like, you know. Anyway, good stitches and geek-related movie memories. So topical. I like both of these movies a lot. This is an unpleasant decision. So I agree. Ill wishes towards you, Jacob. Last Crusade.
Next time, ill wishes.
Yeah. When we're really going for the jugular, play that one. So with Jacob, no, sorry, Freudian slip there. With Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, I really like the Indiana Jones movies. The unique thing with me is Last Crusade was one that I didn't start revisiting as often until I was older. I grew up with Raiders on replay the most often. Temple of Doom and Last Crusade, I didn't revisit much until I was older for whatever reason. I think it's because I got a box set later in life. So I don't have the nostalgia attached to it that I do to Raiders. Dark Knight, I actually think Jesse's points are really observant, and I don't disagree with them, but I do really love this movie. I love that it's an alternate view of Batman, essentially, and this kind of story. I think of the Nolan films, I think it weaves the most interesting, crime story. And his performance is obviously pretty mesmerizing. But what I like about this movie is it was great counter-programming the year that Iron Man came out. And to have both of those, it was like best of both worlds to me. So I also had a great midnight experience at the Dark Knight. That was hard to top, just a personal experience. So I vote for it to go forward, but I will fight hard for Raiders, Jesse, for what it's worth.
All right.
I'm going to you on that fight, probably.
Mara, I'm going to go to you next.
I first have a question. I would like to know what Adam is sipping on.
I'm on a budget tonight. Evan Williams on ice.
I still approve.
Yeah.
Okay. Not that anyone needs that, but I offer it anyway. I thought about this a lot. I really did, because I don't necessarily think that this is the best Batman movie, at least just from like a if we want to talk about like the relatively objective metrics of filmmaking. However, I do think that it deserves so much credit for the action set pieces and all of the practical elements that they did. Dan did an episode, I think it was his first episode of all my movies. And so of course we watched every single behind the scenes feature that we could find both on the discs and on YouTube and stuff. So I have a deep respect for really well-constructed action scenes that don't rely solely on the use of computer effects. Because even when they're brilliant, it just takes me out of it one little iota. So I do really, really enjoy the movie. And I had to really take myself out of my nostalgia goggles for Last Crusade to make sure I would look at this fairly, because it was very, very tough. This is definitely the one that I watched the most. I don't know why, though, because I thoroughly love Raiders, and we had both. So I don't know why one more than the other spoke to me as a younger person, but they both have thrilling scores. They both have really good acting performances. And I think that the thing that kind of differentiated it for me, and I know this is kind of a trivial reason, but I kind of had to find one. I think they're both followed by movies that, regardless, like I don't have the aggressive hatred of Dark Knight Rises. I think it has problems, but like I don't want to strangle people whenever it gets talked about. But I think overall, though, it can be generally spoken that both of the sequels to these movies were inferior to these films themselves. And I think the one that, for me personally, in no way taints the quality of the film is Last Crusade. And that's just a totally personal choice. I think they're both really enjoyable, very rewatchable, epically revisitable for me. But by an inch, I'm going to have to go with Last Crusade.
Interesting. Okay. Lauren, I'm going to go to you.
I would like to start by saying hello to Sir Pounce. What a beautiful boy. Can you guys hear us okay?
Yeah, no, we've got you.
Okay, we struggled last night, so I just wanted to make sure.
No, all good.
This one was harder than I expected it to be. I don't know why, because I love both of these films. So I kind of had to break it down to what's my favorite Indiana movie versus what's my favorite Batman movie, and what's like more important to me to go through. Like I said, Jesse and I disagree about The Dark Knight a lot. Respectfully, yeah. It's not like a sleep on the couch situation. We just have different opinions on it. I really love it. It worked for Batman for me. You know, it's not the classic take on him, but I really like the decisions that were made. That being said, though, Last Crusade is my favorite Indy movie. And because I know Batman 89 go very, very far, or at least it should. We hope. I feel a little less heartbroken saying goodbye to The Dark Knight than I do Last Crusade. It hurts, and I don't like it, and I am mad at you. But I'm going to also pick Last Crusade.
Okay.
I have one sentence.
Yep.
If Dark Knight goes out, I will feel vindicated for what happened to Winter Soldier. I'll just leave it at that.
Marisol, what do you got?
Oh, you're on mute.
Oh, did we lose?
Did we lose Marisol?
No,
she's-
Marisol was on mute.
No.
I'm here. You can hear me,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's just a delay.
No, I was trying out my miming and seeing if it worked, and it did not. Nobody was impressed. No, I was on mute. This has been really great to hear all these takes. I'm so happy that I'm going after everybody. It's really, really, really hard to deny The Dark Knight. This is such a difficult decision. These are two terrific movies, as far as I'm concerned. And it's really hard to deny the cultural impact of The Dark Knight, which it absolutely edges out Last Crusade in regards to that. And I loved hearing Jesse's take, but for me, that's part of one of the things that I do love about The Dark Knight, only because Batman was never Batman. I'm not as attached to the character of Batman as I know a lot of people are. So I'm like, we have like a newer spin on a Batman movie, which Nolan was so thorough in his vision, in his version of how he wanted to bring Batman to life. I was so game for it. I was so game for another take. I was very receptive to different interpretations of how you want to tell a story about this character. And I can only echo what's been said in pop culture about this film. All the great things it gave us. Indiana Jones is also one of my favorite adventure movies, one of my favorite action adventure movies as well. It still holds up, like Mara was saying. Both have terrific scores. It's very, very difficult. This is almost like splitting hairs here with these two films. But I will go with The Dark Knight for my pick because I just think that in terms of cultural impact, and it's not a matter of enjoyment. I love both of these movies, and I watch both of these movies over and over again. It has nothing to do with a personal favorite. I just think maybe I'll edge The Dark Knight with cultural impact and how much it legitimized superhero movies in a way that I don't think had ever been done before. So much so that people were just like appalled that it didn't get nominated for actually Best Picture and Best Director, because it was just such a legitimately terrific film that I think brought comic book films into a place that they hadn't quite tapped for. That it was the closest that we had ever come to seeing a comic book movie just revered in the same sense as like people may like talk about, I don't know, like The Godfather, right? Regardless of what you think about The Dark Knight, but like it was, the reverence for this movie was on that level. That's not to take lightly, and it's hard to find a film that will have an impact, cultural impact, as The Dark Knight to come around in a while. So I really think that deserves a spot to move up through the ranks here.
All right. So you've gone Dark Knight. Taylor.
Oh boy. Okay. This one is a bit easier for me, I think, just because The Dark Knight is more of a nostalgia thing for me than anything Indiana Jones ever is. I didn't grow up watching Indiana Jones. I didn't watch it until the Schmodown kind of forced me to do that. So I'm gonna go with Dark Knight. I think it's I'm sorry, but I'm gonna go with The Dark Knight. I just have so many memories with that film. It was such a culturally impactful movie when it came out. There are still moments from it that I find myself thinking about. There are still so many moments that people talk about. And while it's not a perfect movie, it's something that I really, really enjoyed. I think it's the second best movie in that trilogy, but it's still great. So I'm going to go with The Dark Knight.
Well, yay, I get the deciding vote. That's a first. Oh, okay. I love both of these movies. This really sucks being on the other side. This is actually like, man, this is
screw yourself.
No, we're all relishing this. Yeah, we want this.
We did this to you on purpose. We planned this.
Amuse us, you ass. Amuse us.
Okay. I'm going to do the same logic you guys have all basically used, which is what's the best one of the trilogy? Which is the best one of the franchise for you? And which actually doesn't really work for me. Actually, no, it does. And it's okay. The first hour of Last Crusade is a tough watch for me. I enjoy it, but it's not my favorite. And it's my third favorite Indiana Jones movie. Basically because I love Raiders and I adore Raiders and I absolutely adore Temple of Doom. And Last Crusade is a very good movie. It's not the best of the Indiana Jones movies. The Dark Knight is second only to Batman Begins. It's an incredible Batman movie. It is a absolutely incredible just portrait of this duality between the Joker and the Batman. And because of that, I am going to vote for The Dark Knight. And Last Crusade has been eliminated.
I can't believe you were the one that had to do that.
It's appropriate.
I'm glad The Dark Knight went through because I intentionally kept my conversation short in anticipation that I would be able to follow through with it in the next round. So that's fine.
Well, with that, The Dark Knight does make it through, and unfortunately, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade has been eliminated.
That's a really bad start, Jacob.
And the hits keep coming.
We're starting on a high.
Batman 66 versus Star Trek Beyond. Adam, I'm going to start with you.
Interesting. I really like Batman 66. So this matchup is tough for me. Star Trek Beyond, I think, is a small triumph in its own right because it came out Into Darkness. While I think it's a decent Star Trek movie, it was mildly divisive. Not Rise of Skywalker levels. Sorry, Taylor. Didn't mean to say that out loud.
It's all right. It's okay. It's all right.
But I do think Beyond had a little work cut out for it, and I think it really stuck the landing. If we never got another movie with these crew, I think it's a firm little trilogy, and I think that's due in large part to Beyond. Batman 66, when you go back and watch it and you put it in context, it's so much fun. You can't... like coming off the heels of the Dark Knight discussion, it would have been so awesome to debate Batman 66 versus the Dark Knight. Another time. But I don't know. I just like the mixture of villains. I like the inherent humor that's the completely not self-aware. And it's honestly a pretty rewatchable movie. To be fair, I will say that I probably go back to, Star Trek Beyond a little bit more often. It's a slightly more engaging movie, thanks to all the action and effects, I suppose. But it's a really solid Star Trek movie that I think goes back to the roots of like the original series in a lot of ways, in terms of the way it sets up the villain. And I found that really fun. This is harder for me than I expected, but I will go Star Trek Beyond slightly. But I think Batman 66 is underrated by modern audiences.
All right. Mara.
I agree with every single thing Adam said about Batman 66. And I'm glad that there are other people that not just appreciate like the camp of it, but that respond to the camp of it. I'm glad I'm not alone. That being said, Beyond is not my favorite of the new trilogy of films. However, I absolutely love the chemistry of that cast. I can't say it enough. And even though it's definitely not the best Star Trek movie, and I don't think Batman 66 is necessarily the worst Batman movie either, but I think I would pick almost any Star Trek movie over it just because I'm a huge Trekkie. So I'm going to pick Star Trek.
All right. Marisol.
Yeah. I've still never seen Batman 66 all the way through, but I have seen many clips of it, as probably many people have, the most ridiculous clip outs from it. So I can just assume that I can assume that context wouldn't help much with all the clips that I've seen. I'm not sure if like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like, like I don't think that they would click in more of like, I'm sure this is a really, really, really serious movie, and then suddenly, that happened. But yeah, like while there is entertainment value in camp, I'll agree with you guys there. There's so many pluses. There's more just like an endearing campy B movie quality I would feel with revisiting 66 and Star Trek Beyond is just while being the weakest of the Kelvin timeline movies, it is still, like Mara said, it still has the chemistry of the cast, and there's still so much that I like about it. And I would have to edge it out over Batman 66. I think is just objectively probably stronger.
All right. Jesse.
So 66 is something growing up that I saw. It felt like every time I turned the TV on like the AMC channel, they would be playing this movie, and I would always catch it the same part. So recently I was like, I want to put this in. I'm sure I've seen all of it by now because I've always caught it on TV. I was like, nope, I saw the same 45 minutes of it every time I turned it on. So there was a whole, like, more than half the movie that I hadn't seen yet. So that was a fun thing to enjoy. And I agree with everyone's sentiments of it being highly entertaining and a good time. And I had to ask myself upon this last rewatch, because some of the, I don't even know if it's got to be intentional humor, but some of it's so stupid, but it seems so intentional in the writing. Like whenever they're solving the Riddler's riddles, I'm like, that in no way makes any sense.
For Catwoman.
Yeah, it's like the shark was at C for Catwoman. I was like, that is no.
Hard to argue with that logic.
And one of the other ones that is from the Riddler, it said, what lives in a tree but is also lethal? And Robin's like, a bird with a gun or something like that, or with a machine gun. I was like, what?
Batman's like, yes, it must be.
Yeah, he's like, yes, it
Must be the penguin. Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, okay, this has to be intentional. And that's kind of like changes how I feel about it in the event. Like, if it is fully intentional, then I appreciate it like 300 times more. So it's a good time. Star Trek Beyond surprised me because I was a big fan of the 2009 and Into the Darkness. Upon rewatching them, Into Darkness is the weakest, but I was such a fan of. I guess I was a Cumberbitch a little bit.
Yeah.
So I had a bias.
That's fair.
I had a bias for Into Darkness, but watching all three, Into Darkness is the weakest. That being said, Beyond's trailers were terrible. And
it was like Fast and Furious in space.
Well, literally, because it was like from the director of Fast and the Furious. It was like Justin Lin. And you see Kirk on a dirt bike, and then they're playing Sabotage, and I was like, this looks atrocious. this is gonna like nail in the coffin the franchise, which I think it did on accident. But I think it's a really good movie. I like it a lot. And I guess all that to be said, which one of these would I be more inclined to do a rewatch on any given day? It's probably going to be Star Trek Beyond, even though the OCD in me has to watch the other two first. I would still rather do that. I have no ill feelings towards 66, although I think it says it's like an hour and 45 minutes or something like that, and it feels like 3 somehow. But that's my thoughts. Star Trek Beyond.
Jacob, real quick, I just have to say honorable mention for all the punching in Batman 66. All the villains chip in and they all punch. Joker punches, Catwoman punches, Penguin punches, and Riddler has the best goofy punches. But a lot of good punching. I forgot to mention that. I'm sorry.
Taylor.
Yeah, this one's an interesting one because I definitely don't enjoy Batman 66 as much as I enjoy Star Trek Beyond, but like they were way ahead of their time with 66 with the straight just memeability of that whole movie. They were like, the internet is going to exist at one point and we need to make a movie where, because people live on the internet, Batman 66 is going to have its day. Like the amount of things you can clip out from this movie and just like turn it into a thing is just remarkable. I don't know how there isn't just memes of like the kind of riddles that we were just talking about. Like the way that it's written, just how goofy it is and how fun it can be when it's not feeling like it's 3 hours long. Yes, like it definitely feels like a long movie at points, but a lot of it is very charming. Star Trek Beyond, I have a lot of love for. I go back and forth on what my favorite Star Trek film of the newer films actually is. Any given day, it could be any of them. I just connected so deeply with that particular cast, and I just kind of fell in love with that version of that world. So I have to pick Star Trek Beyond, even though I watch it and it kind of makes me sad because I'm like, no, Anton Yelchin, I'm so sad. But it's so good. I love it. I love that movie a lot. I have nothing but positive things to say.
All right. I do just want to shout out Brother Lomas. Shark Repellent has been hilarious. 6 years. Thank you very much for the super chats.
I'm not going to disagree. The Bat Shark Repellent is next level stuff. Just incredible.
Lauren, where are you heading?
This one is tougher than I expected it to be. 66 is so charming and goofy, and it just like makes you feel good. I appreciated Star Trek Beyond because to me it felt like the riskiest one. They tried a lot in that one, and I felt like branched out and kind of broke out of their comfort zone, which I thought was really cool. Because if anybody is gonna, try new things, it's got to be Star Trek. So I don't think it's my favorite of the three, but I really, really like it. Rewatchability, I'm probably going to give it to Beyond. Like Jesse said, Batman 66 is a lot of fun, but it does feel really long after a while. I think I said to him about halfway through, I was like, how long have we been watching this? It feels like hours. There's no ill will toward either of these movies. I really love them both. But I think Beyond is going to edge it out just a bit for me.
All right. Well, with that, Star Trek Beyond does make it through. Guys in the chat,
riddles from the movie.
Guys in the chat, if you guys want to let us know what would you be voting for in the chat, please. It would be fantastic, and we will read some of yours out. Let's move on to our next one. We have X2 versus Terminator: Rise of the Machines.
Oh.
Taylor, I'm going to start with you.
Oh, please don't. Okay. Yep. So I don't even know where to start with this. I look at this and my brain just goes, No, like I don't have anything. I guess Rise of the Machines. The problem I have with this is I look at both of these movies and neither of them really elicit a strong opinion, and also neither of them really feel like, I don't know, I look at them in the context of just the universe they kind of exist in, and I just don't know, like, would I put either of these on just for fun? Probably not. But you know what? I'm just gonna go with, man, how do I even judge where I want to go with this? I literally just look at this and go, I could care less whichever one goes through. I think for recency bias, because we've watched them most recently, I'm gonna go with Rise of the Machines. Like, we watched Terminator most recently, so that's where I'm going.
Fair enough. Mara.
I don't hate Rise of the Machines. I just don't really love it, but I really, really love X2. I revisit it probably more frequently than I need to, at least for Inner Geekdom, but that's just because I love it so much. So honestly, I don't really even need to get into why. I just love it. So I'm just gonna say X2.
All right. Marisol.
Yeah, I mean, I like both of these movies. I care. I think this is a good matchup because they both are very comparable because of two big franchise sequels that came out in the same year. So you could tell kind of like where Hollywood was at that time. Like you could both pretty much evaluate them, I think, in very similar in context. You know, you can contextualize them the same way. In terms of what people were looking for, where people were leaning with these stories and established properties and what to do with characters. I think that X2 succeeded a little more. It proved that the original X-Men wasn't a fluke. And I think they doubled down and did a really great job expanding and continuing and maintaining that momentum in the series. I think it's a great sequel. I do really have a soft spot for the first X-Men, but but X2 is a great sequel. And Rise of the Machines is decent. I think every time I revisit it, I become less hard on it, I think. And I just kind of calm down and I don't stop comparing it to the other Terminators so aggressively. And just kind of appreciate having the only movie with a female Terminator. And having her Christina Loken, is that her name?
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. She's intimidating. She gets her job done, and I think that I give it a little more credit every time I rewatch it. So it's growing on me. It's still not better than X2, but it does grow me, and it deserves some credit for being the Terminator sequel that had to follow up T2, and not dropping the ball. I don't think. Still, that can't compete to how 2003 X-Men is, and the way that you know is because of Halle Berry's hairstyles in each movie. And Halle Berry and Jean Grey both had like the flip thing, like the Farrah Fawcett thing going on in X2, like where like the hairstylist just went absolutely. Like the hairstylist just had a photo of Farrah Fawcett next to everybody every day when they were doing makeup, just kept flipping everybody's hair before they went on set next to. And I think that maybe that is what edges out and makes me pick it over Rise of the Machines. So X2.
All right. Lauren.
I love X2. I love it. I think we mentioned it in a previous one. Jess and I are both like massive X-Men fans. X2 is so good. And Jesse and I were burning through the Terminator movies until 3. And it started and we were both.
Boo. We appear to have lost you.
So, yeah.
Oh no.
Today's going to be the internet issues episode, it seems.
Today apparently doesn't like us.
Jacob.
Oh yeah, somebody mentioned
still
the
suck.
Nightcrawler opening.
Yeah, I do still stuff.
Oh yeah.
Can you hear us now?
Yes.
Okay.
There we go.
We hear
Okay.
you.
Yeah, this one's pretty easy for me. Not a big fan of Rise of the Machines. Massive fan of X2. It was so much fun to see Nightcrawler brought to life. Honestly, that alone makes the movie for me. Seeing him like fleshed out in real 3D was incredible all on its own. Besides the fact that the rest of the movie is incredible. So this one's pretty easy for me. It's definitely X2.
All right, Adam.
So I really like Rise of the Machines more than most people, mainly because I just think it's the most unassuming Terminator sequel of all of them. I still maintain that the Sarah Connor Chronicles is the best sequel to Terminator 2. But Rise of the Machines, I think, of the 4 cinematic sequels we've gotten to T2, it's my favorite and the one I rewatched the most because Arnold was still young enough to pull off the original look just enough. He's got a few more wrinkles, but, you know, it was like his swan song before he became governor. And it was just so fun to, like, see the character on screen again. I think Nick Stahl is an underrated John Connor. I really like him. I think it was a good idea to cast him instead of, you know, trying to get Edward Furlong to do it at the time because he really wasn't, you know, in the headspace from what I understand to do that. And I think Nick Stahl makes John Connor feel relatable and vulnerable and, in my opinion, interesting. I like Claire Danes in the movie. I really like all the fight scenes between the two Terminators, especially that bathroom scene where they're just ramming each other through toilets. And that crane scene with the big chase, I think, is pretty amazing. So Terminator 3, I understand why people are hard on it because the first 2 movies are in a class of their own. But I think Terminator 3 is a lot of fun, and I genuinely enjoy it. But I think X2 is one of the best comic book sequels we got, especially early on in that iteration of movies from Marvel. It doubles down on the themes from the first one. It makes them more, even more, resonant and articulate, and it adds so many new interesting characters. And we're no longer like just staring at Magneto as this big bad guy. We're all, really, the focus is on Stryker. And I think that's a really interesting choice. And I think the movie runs a little long. I think almost 2.5 hours is pushing it for that story. But I think it's a great movie. And I think it has more on its mind than Terminator 3. But I like Terminator 3. And I want it to go down swinging. But I will say X2.
All right. And Jesse?
All right, much like my beloved here, I am a huge fan of X2, X-Men United being the full title. I don't know why Terminator gets a full title, but X2 doesn't get the respect it deserves. But that's fine. X2 was the first movie poster in my life that I ever had. It was the one with the full cast and stuff with like Lady Deathstrike down in the corner. Lady Deathstrike really being my only issue with that movie. Like Adam said, I love where they went with Stryker, but there's just too many highlights in this film where Rise of the Machines pretty much has a nuke and a crane scene, but we get in the mansion Wolverine doing his full just like rampage for the first time. And I used to watch that scene as a teenager. I would just skip to that scene of the movie and watch it over and over and over again because there was something wrong with me. The Nightcrawler scene is incredible. Like this is early 2000s, and we get some really breathtaking special effects, and it was something we had never seen anything like that.
Really good practical effects.
Yeah, we had never seen anything like that in a comic book movie up until that point. So I was blown away by that. At that point in my life, Nightcrawler was in my top 3 favorite X-Men characters. So having him brought to life and having him be a tortured soul. I love the added origin that they gave to him where he put a marking on himself for every sin that he committed. And I was like, that seems so in line with the character. Well, I love that choice.
And just like all the kudos to Alan Cumming.
Absolutely. We also get Magneto's prison break from the plastic prison. Again, awesome. You get Ian McKellen just folded arms floating on a disc, just taking everybody out. It was the beginning of the downfall of Cyclops, where we get him as a total background character. So it's not a perfect film, but it is one of my top 3 X-Men films. I enjoy the absolute heck out of it. Rise of the Machines, to me, is in the worst way the most network television feeling Terminator franchise installment. And they actually had a TV show that Adam brought up, Sarah Connor Chronicles, which is immensely better than this and felt more cinematic than Rise of the Machines. And X2 would be my choice. I was long-winded. Sorry.
I like you, Terminator 3.
Somebody has to.
All right. Well, with that, X2 does move through to the next round. All right. This one, I reckon we could be pretty quick, but Adam, I am going to let you gush over this movie. Swamp Thing versus The Kitchen. So, Adam.
You a fan?
What? This is so... I mean, they're both DC movies. Imagine this crossover. Imagine if he just walked into the middle of The Kitchen. All right. I don't have much to say about The Kitchen. Swamp Thing, however, I think is a very interesting piece of cinematic history. You know, Wes Craven doing a comic book movie. It's nuts. It's very low budget. There's so much about it that is quite bad. But the thing I do like about it is, you have a great performance from Adrienne Barbeau there at the center. Ray Wise, who I love from Twin Peaks, really sells, the beginning of the movie and just goes out like a champ, diving into the swamp in flames. Like I love that imagery. And all the creature effects with the actual Swamp Thing, I think are really, really cool. Growing up, Swamp Thing was this kind of mysterious character. He had like a cartoon series and all this stuff. And it was really hard for me to find the movies when I was young. So to catch up with them later in life, neither of them are very good, but this one's definitely better than the second. And I'm going to go back to this more than The Kitchen. With The Kitchen, it tried to be a gritty adaptation of the graphic novel, which I appreciate, and it didn't fully land. I think Swamp Thing showed a lot of creativity and ingenuity on a limited budget. And I also just find Wes Craven's career interesting, so I'm biased. So I pick Swamp Thing.
All right, Marisol.
This is one of my weird reasonings coming through. I haven't seen the Swamp Thing yet. I have seen The Kitchen. And when I was watching it, I just felt like all 3 actresses thought they were in different movies. I don't know if that's the director's fault. But like Tiffany Haddish, Melissa McCarthy, and Elizabeth Moss, their performances are all on like such different levels, taking place in different movies. I think Tiffany Haddish thought she was in The Nice Guys, and I think that Elizabeth Moss thought this was like The Handmaid's Tale, like in a time machine where she goes to an alternate universe and then has to like get revenge on like her husband. And then I think that Melissa McCarthy, I don't know. But all the 3 actresses were on a different wavelength in their performances, so that kind of ruined the chemistry that could have otherwise been there. I don't think The Kitchen is terrible, but I don't think it's terrible. I don't see why people think it's like horrendous. Because it's not, but it is a missed opportunity. It is slightly jumbled, little meandering script, not as focused in script, and the performances are just so inconsistent and not in sync that it does knock it down. On the flip side, the Swamp Thing, which I'm not saying it's a cinematic classic, but I'm really excited to see it. And that excitement to see it, and maybe that's because I've been hearing Collins talk about it a couple times. I'm excited to see it. And
it's the best movie ever.
Whoa, see, that's the shit I have to hear.
Brace yourself.
So I'm ready for weird, and I'm ready for I'm so ready for a low budget monster movie that's really trying. and I think will at least have a little more earnest qualities than the kitchen does. So there's my reasons in my head, and I'm going to go with the Swamp Thing.
All right, Jesse.
So I am a fan of Alan Moore's Swamp Thing, the New 52 Swamp Thing. I am outrageously upset with the travesty that was the death of the show that they were just doing. It was after one episode, it already announced that it was canceled. I was like, well, why am I still watching this? And why is it the best thing that the DC streaming is doing right now? So frustrating. So I mean, that's off topic, but like in the
wasn't it the guy from It Chapter 2?
Yes, it was who was in a scene. It was him. Alec Holland is an awesome. I'm a fan of the tortured characters, and he is that. I love the story of Swamp Thing. I love supernatural stuff, especially in the DC universe. So anything that's Justice League Dark, Constantine, anything like that, and Swamp Thing falls into that. All that being said, this is not those things that made me appreciate Swamp Thing, but I can't vote for those. But I can vote for this, and the fact that that Wes Craven had enough ambition to go after a lesser known, really crazy property in the 80s. Like, he wasn't going for Batman or Superman. He's like, I'm gonna do Swamp Thing. All the power to you, man. I think that's awesome. The kitchen feels very uninspired, and whether the Swamp Thing succeeded or not, at least you could feel the passion behind it. So my vote goes for Swamp Thing.
All right, Mara.
I was very skeptical about the kitchen. I don't usually find a lot of common ground or identity with female characters, and since it was, primarily seen from the perspective of women, I was like, oh, this is gonna be a slog. But the one character I really loved was Claire, Elizabeth Moss's character. That being said, though, I still had to deal with the other two, they're fine actresses, but they just didn't grab me at all. It just felt so derivative, the performances, but they tried very hard. So that's not a slight on them as human beings. So please don't misinterpret that. But I am a huge, huge Wes Craven person. I love this aesthetic. I think it feels very purposeful, unique, singular, but not in a way that is grabbing your attention away from its subject matter, because I think that sometimes a director's stamp can detract from source material in a way that feels singular because they want to be talked about rather than cherishing and celebrating a character and the source material. Ray Wise is a treasure. He is pure charisma in everything he does. And also, Jesse is 100% right. Derek Mears is a freaking treasure, and I was heartbroken for him and cherish him always. So that doesn't pertain to this ruling. However, it's completely.
Are you talking about the physical embodiment of Swamp Thing, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, Swamp Thing done. Check.
Lauren.
I'll try and keep this brief because I don't have strong feelings. Much like Marisol, I have only seen part of the kitchen and none of Swamp Thing. There was a day where I was working at the theater and I had some spare time, so I went and hid in the theater and watched part of the kitchen and immediately forgot about it. It was just, I think, really forgettable. I don't think it was terrible. It just didn't really do anything for me. So this is for you, Adam. I'm picking Swamp Thing.
All right.
Many blessings upon you.
About Swamp Thing for 5 minutes, but for Adam, that's fine.
All right, and with that, Swamp Thing makes it through.
I really want Swamp Thing to get a cinematic reboot, and I want them to borrow Clayface from Batman and make him the villain. That's what I want.
Oh.
Can we get Clayface from the Harley Quinn animated show as the villain?
There you go.
Space in my head canon. That's not allowed.
I'm gonna start with you for this one. Hellboy: The Golden Army versus Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Okay.
So, Mara, I'm gonna start with you.
Okay. I will first start with Hellboy because I am a huge Del Toro person. I don't think that this sequel is terrible. I know that there's a lot of haters out there, but it's actually a very, very faithful and it's a love letter to its source material, I think. I know that there's some differing opinions. Those are totally valid, but I really, really like it. That being said, Dan and I both, because many times we have the exact same opinion on things. We're just very lucky that we've disagreed on a sum total of one movie ever, and not angrily, just kind of like he liked it a little bit, I didn't like it a little bit. That being said, we both were like, they'll never make Zack Snyder's Justice League. There's too much money. Like, they're not going to do it. And the minute that they said they were doing it, I was like, oh my God, we're going to have to talk about this movie. And I don't know if we're going to like it. And we were freaked out because he legitimately got like serious death threats after Aquaman. So we were just like, this is going to be a shitstorm. So sit down and we're watching it. And we look at each other like 25 minutes in and we just don't say a word. We look at each other like 25 minutes later and say nothing. Look at each other like 5 minutes later and we were like, is this movie like really good? And I was really worried he was going to disagree. And he's just like, it's kind of amazing, right? And so we just sat there like enthralled. I watched it 3 times in a week the other day, like 3 weeks ago or something. No, it had to be like 4 weeks ago. It was before surgery. And then I watched it many times after surgery, but I don't remember. I gotta say though, like the music is amazing, which of course I always lead with music because music speaks to me, and I have that thing where like I get sensory body things from music. So like that movie is stimulating. But man, like it shows that it's, regardless of how it started and how it was really going to be in his mind before he sadly had to step aside, and whatever they gave us, I don't care what the difference is between those two things because I can only look at what actually is there rather than what would have been there had they not given him a shitload of money and said, go play. But man, like it actually tells a coherent story, which is somewhat challenging for DC Extended Universe movies, sadly. There's no teeny tiny baby mouth, which I also very much love. I could talk about this movie for 5 solid minutes, and I know we don't have that kind of time, but I cannot tell you how thrilled I was that you put Zack Snyder's Justice League in here, because I don't hate Justice League. I really just, the theatrical cut, I just really don't love it. Like, I really want to. I really want to, but I didn't want to have to talk about that. I really wanted to talk about this. This is thrilling, and I don't even care how my mouth feels right now. I'm just going to keep listening along through this. I will not be angry if Hellboy makes it through because, again, love the aesthetic, love Del Toro, love that, as we mentioned to each other yesterday, Doug Jones actually got to speak. It's just wonderful. All of the things. However, I really want Zack Snyder's Justice League to make it through because if it doesn't, I'll cry.
That was honestly the reason I put Snyder's one in is because I didn't want to have that which one are we talking about discussion. It was just like, you know what, no, I'm making the executive decision. We're not talking about Whedon's one because at least this is like there's actually a conversation there. So Jesse, let's go to you.
My question was just like, with that logic, I'm trying to remember if BVS made it through or not, but I just want to consider the ultimate cut whenever we're talking about that.
It's gone.
Is it gone already? We lost it?
Yeah, it's gone.
Where's my soundbite? I'm just kidding. I want to substitute Lauren. Mine. I'll go after her or whenever you choose, but I want to go to my turn.
Can you hear us okay?
Yep.
Okay, so I'll be honest. I'm not a huge Zack Snyder person. And Jesse basically had to like duct tape me to a chair and force me to watch the Snyder Cut. And begrudgingly, I really, really liked it. And I was upset about it. He
betrays everything I know.
He sold me with one scene. He was like, how do I get Lauren to buy into this? And he was like, I know, the Amazons. And it worked. As somebody who really, really was so disappointed by Joss Whedon's, this one was just like indescribably so much better. I'm never thought I would say this. I'm glad they let him do it. I thought it was so much better, and I genuinely really, really liked it. I have just like a small few issues with it. The like repeating Wonder Woman's little tribal thing every 5 seconds after a while, I was like, okay, That's enough of that. But Brian, this is, if you know me at all, this is a shocking thing for me to say, but really, I actually enjoyed this quite a bit. I'm glad this is the one you chose, and it is going to be my choice as well.
All right. Adam, I'm going to go to you.
If you have the captions on, I think it's lamentation music is what keeps popping up every time, and it's pretty great. I actually started looking forward to the caption every time. And also, anyone here remember Thumb Wars or any of the Thumb parodies?
Yep.
You know what I'm talking about? Somebody. Okay. So that's what I think of when I see Henry Cavill's lips in Justice League. The way they move around. The way they just wiggle.
Are you talking about Ooba Dooba Doobie?
Yeah, Ooba Dooba Doobie. Thumb Wars is still my favorite of those. Yeah. So Hellboy: The Golden Army, cool flick. Nothing against that movie. I saw it in theaters. I revisited it not that long ago. And like all the things I like about most of Del Toro's movies, the way he leans into imagination and how vivid he is, with his production design. But the story of Golden Army doesn't grab me that much, to be honest with you. I'm more interested in the appearance of things than the actual journey of Hellboy in that particular film. I think it's still a very fun movie, and I don't think there's anything fundamentally wrong with it. Zack Snyder's Justice League, for me, is just this fascinating experiment that went mostly right. I don't think it's a perfect movie either, but I do think it is superior to the theatrical cut for many reasons. But the thing that's so refreshing about when you watch it is it's an obviously long movie, but it's paced so much better than the theatrical cut that for me, it clips along so much faster. And I love the beats of the different chapters, and it felt episodic in a good way. And I think the choice of the aspect ratio was bold, and it paid off in terms of scale. So I would love to see this on the big screen, to be honest with you. I think that's the only thing missing from the experience thus far. I didn't know if Mara was about to break. Like, they're releasing it in theaters tomorrow, people.
A cookie just dropped out of the sky.
That's a fair reaction to that as well. But anyway, Zack Snyder's Justice League is my vote, just because I think it's a very interesting movie that I think we're going to be talking about for a very long time. And there you have it.
Marisol.
Yeah, no. Interesting matchup. I want to give Golden Army its credit because Del Toro wouldn't just roll over and put this on autopilot. He still just tried to tell a story and put his story first and foremost with his adventure and with his action. And even though he tried, like Adam was saying, like it's still not the relationship between like Prince Nuada and his sister, and it was enough, but it was too shallow to sustain the entire movie and doesn't grip you. And it is, like Adam, you were saying, drowned out by just, you're so caught up in the imagery and how much the character design is, because it's Del Toro, the character design and the production design is working overtime, and like the story feels a little too slight to accompany that. I felt like there was a lot of time wasted in Golden Army for some reason. I felt like there was padding there for some reason and not enough meat to the story. But I still want to give it its credit. It's still a respectable sequel, not on level of the first one, but still a respectable sequel. With Zack Snyder's Justice League, I feel everything you were saying, Mara. Like the thing that hurts the most is it hurt. Nothing is more devastating to a fan when you feel like somebody doesn't give a shit about what you want to see. And the circumstances leading up to Snyder's original Justice League are just so tragic for so many reasons. What happened to him, what happened to his family, and that the fact in its twilight stages got passed to somebody who didn't give a flying fuck about it, and just didn't care at all about the product that was created, and just like, I don't know, it's so tragic. There's so many people who care about this so much, to just see, of all people, somebody take it and just not care at all about what came out, just because they had to make something for the people writing their checks, and they had no accountability, or he couldn't have cared less, and we all had to suffer for it. And I thought that's a Justice League that I had been waiting for since I was a small child, that I was going to have to see for the rest of my life. I thought that was going to be it. And when the Snyder cut actually got, was greenlit and actually came to be, it is one of the most meaningful cinematic film lover moments of my life, to see something come forward like this. And I love the Snyderverse. I love that I was able to grow up with these characters as a child and absorb these stories and be fed them the way that a child would enjoy them. And I love that Snyder has come on and adapted these stories for adults the way that, like, the fans who were children when they were absorbing these stories and these cartoon characters and these TV shows, and now can watch them just come and be taken so seriously and treated so majestically and honored so much. That's something that adults will enjoy. It just means so much. And the Snyder Cut is such a special film that means more to me than I think maybe the average person, or the average even comic book fan. I can't say enough great things about it, so I'll just cut it there. It's so beyond clearly Snyder Cut. It's not even funny. And it's such a special moment to see somebody allow an artist, as long as people don't get carried away with this. Like, we don't need to do, this is very different than people, like, saying demanding that season 8 of Game of Thrones needs to be rewritten. That shit is obnoxious. That needs to stop. But
we don't need everybody's cut of everything.
Exactly. But this very specific circumstance where a man's child died and he had to step away from a project that he was working on, and somebody bastardized it, and then he got a chance to come around and finish his original work. That is a very specific set of circumstances. And so we're so grateful that this happened and that we got this film. And I think it's one of the best superhero films, by far, DC, that I've ever seen. I could not be more of an enthusiastic vote up for Justice League.
All right. Jesse.
Hey, so I've been trying to, I don't know if it's noticeable, but I've been trying to cut back. There's some movies I'm really passionate about. This happens to be both a story and a film that I feel very passionately about. I am not a blind Zack Snyder lover. I know there's a whole toxic fan base, and whether we're for his movies or against, I think we can acknowledge that it exists. It's very unfortunate, and I hate that that's like the loudest thing we have going for this universe. I am a fan, for the most part, of the Snyderverse. I would like to see it continue because it just kind of reminds me of Injustice, which is one of my favorite comic book runs, because it's a dark take and it's not for everyone. Just like The Dark Knight worked for a lot of people, it didn't work for me because of what the take was. This is a take. It's a story. It's an alternate way of looking at it. It's a bit darker than what we're used to. A lot of people aren't fans of a Superman that has existential crisis going on, but I am. I like a lot of this. Now, the Snyder cut at times was a little overindulgent when you have Aquaman backing up into the water with some like Norwegian opera singing going on.
They're called lamentation specialists.
With some Norwegian lamentations. Not every second of this film worked. However, like not even half of the theatrical one worked for me. I watched this 3+ hour cut, or I guess it was like 4 hours, wasn't it? I watched it like three or four times total. It's kick-ass. I think that's like how I'd kind of summarize it. It's not perfect, but it's epic and it's kick-ass. And I did a watch along with my friends. And when Wonder Woman decapitates Steppenwolf, we stood up out of the couch and cheered at the screen. So like that's the feeling I got with this. And I was like, I'm good with that.
Yeah.
I want that to continue. If it's not perfect, but it just like gets my blood like pumping and my heart going, and I feel like cheering in the theater, that's better than half of what DC's accomplished thus far. So I would take that any day. there wasn't a lot of cheering for me in Hellboy: The Golden Army. The first Hellboy is one of my favorite comic book movies of all time. The second one had a pretty good use of practical effects in places, but I feel like Guillermo leaned more so into the CGI in the second one, and so I think because of that, some of the action doesn't hold up as well as the first film. I think it will. Zack Snyder's Justice League, I'll have another chance to talk about, so I'm going to cut about 5 to 6 minutes off here.
I will take his 5 to 6 minutes.
Well, we will get another round of talking about this. Taylor, did you want to have anything to add?
I mean, not necessarily. I guess Justice League is a tough one for me just in general, because by the time, and it's not fair to Zack Snyder, but by the time his version of Justice League did come around and get released, I was already so over the whole movement to get the Snyder Cut released, taking over every facet of every pop culture thing I was involved with. Like, I couldn't do enough to release the Snyder Cut on every possible social media platform like there ever was. And I am glad that we got this. I'm glad we got this version of this film, because I think it's far superior to what we ever would have gotten from Whedon, even if he cared. But I was so I never want to experience the release the Snyder Cut movement ever again for anything. That leaves such a sour taste in my mouth. Even when I try to watch this movie now, as much as I enjoy it, the internet just needs to chill out, just a little bit, because I cannot do that again. When we were at Comic-Con, I was ready to light things on fire. It was terrible. It was terrible.
Yeah. Well, with that, Zack Snyder's Justice League does make it through. All right, we've got an interesting one coming up next.
Jacob, I just love how politely you acknowledge Taylor's hellfire and brimstone mode she goes into.
Yes.
Yep, that's a thing.
He was there. He knows.
Yes. Next up, we have The Losers versus Black Panther. Marisol, I'm going to start with you.
Yo, okay. Losers, I had no expectations going into it. And I was and then I went and saw it in theaters, and I was like, this is fun. I was like, this is a pleasant little surprise. You got a great cast, assembled a great cast. And they have fun with it. They have no expectations. I still remember a few gags. One of the most ridiculous things in the whole movie is 92-pound Zoe Saldana shooting a rocket launcher and not getting blasted back, 20 feet. Yay! Hashtag, skinny action heroes. Love those. Love that. That's a whole nother rant. I'm not gonna get into that rant. But I adore anything with Idris Elba in it. Always want more of Jeffrey Dean Morgan. Chris Evans was still picking just the right roles to not be overexposed, even though he was starting to be a lot of places in 2010, late 2000s. Cast was great. The Losers is fun, better than expected, totally worth checking out. Black Panther is a cultural event. And
it's great. It's great. It's good. Check it out, but it's not Black Panther.
Yeah, it's not getting.
It's on TNT
no
most Saturdays. Yeah, but
it's not getting past Black Panther. That's why I wanted to give it its credit. Black Panther is excellent. It's not a flawless film, but it's so earnest and so supremely executed. And just all in on everything, just puts its heart and soul, like Coogler puts his heart and soul into everything and believes in everything that he's making. And that helps, that earnestness helps it rise above some cheesiness throughout the film. And it's just so refreshing and such just a blast in the face. I love these films in the MCU. I love the Doctor Stranges and the Guardians of the Galaxies and the Black Panthers that just really do expose us to a fresh, brand new world. And do it well and put just the right amount of flavor. My biggest complaint about Black Panther is that I cannot believe that they killed off in the first. Spoiler alert, I'm sorry, but like I just that's the one thing that just frustrates me the most about it. And I hope I don't know what they're gonna do with the next movie. I don't want to have to watch What If to like just see Killmonger exist again. But if I have to. And I just think that that's such a brilliant, such a villain with such a rich history and such a connection to Black Panther that he could have been the Joker to his Batman and could have been used for so many films, and they just killed him in the first film, and I hate that. But other than that, I love Black Panther, and absolutely it beats losers who are losers. Sorry.
It's built into the name, so it'll be fine.
They're asking for it.
Jesse.
Okay, unmuting myself. The Losers is something I actually never saw until about 2 years ago, and I had a really good time with it. If for no other reasons, I'd love for the losers to get by, just so we can have the fun of saying the losers are the winners today. But hot take number 2, probably, and that is I am not as high on Black Panther as everyone else. I have some filmmaking problems as well as some issues with the fact that Black Panther pretty much has like 3 well-known villains. They managed to like wipe them all out in one film. They killed 2 of them and made the third one his best friend. That bothers me. That's so petty. I feel terrible, and I can rarely get this out. And right now, I'm on the other side of the computer, so nobody can physically come at me. That being said, I recognize that Black Panther is incredibly important, and I do, to Marisol's point, I think it's very earnest. I think it did accomplish what it was trying to do. I'm just a turd, so don't nobody take what I say about this movie too seriously. As fun as The Losers was, it doesn't stick out in my brain. It doesn't. I don't think about it a lot. And despite how I feel about Black Panther, I think about it a lot. And I really wanted, and this breaks my heart, I wanted to see Chadwick Boseman again because I thought the sequel was going to be able to surpass the original film immensely. And who knows what Wakanda Forever is going to be or how it's going to be. I'm excited to see that, but we all know it's not going to be the same one way or the other. Not to be unfair. I don't want to ramble, but I will pick Black Panther in this instance.
Mara.
I really, really love The Losers. I'm probably higher on it than most people. And I could talk about why I love it, but I'd rather talk about why I love Black Panther. The score is just phenomenal. I mean, it was on my Oscar ballot, and I was like, if it doesn't win, I'm going to kill the Academy. So pretty much every time I really want something to win, I threaten bodily harm to the members of the Academy. And you know what? They're all still alive. But I mean, I don't think it's flawless though. It's particularly that very first action scene. It's just so dimly lit that with everything else in that movie looking so beautiful, I still get a little irritated that I can't really see what happens. However, just because it's not perfect doesn't mean that it is not just thrilling. I love that not only did it just showcase, okay, this is probably a very, very divisive thing to say. I saw a lot of people on social media, specific people that will never ever need to be named, that were very skeptical about its ability to succeed from a place of very thinly veiled racism. And I absolutely love the fact that they're the ones that are like out in the street saying Wakanda forever. And I'm like, okay, I love that this movie that's about the most advanced scientifically, technologically, philosophically advanced race lives in Africa, and you thought it was going to fail, and now you love it. I love that happened to people because I don't even need to say it. They already know that their racism is stupid. But anyways, like the movie itself could have just meant something for what it showed people, but it has incredibly deep themes. I love the idea that we can create our own villains, and in a way that attacks systemic racism without slamming it in your face that says like everyone is wrong. I actually like that Killmonger died because I like that it was his choice, and I love what he had to say about why he chose that for himself. Which it's sad that it happened, but I revisit that scene so many times because I just think that it says everything in such a succinct way, and you could just talk about that one scene for 20 minutes if I were allowed to. just all of it. I mean, perfectly cast. I really don't think there was a misstep there. My heart was personally broken because I love inappropriately how much Claw is just out there. I want that SoundCloud link. I demand it. Strange amount of attraction to whatever weirdness is happening there. So that hurt me a little bit personally, but I won't keep talking. I was told there was a time check, and I'm gonna stop talking now. I'm gonna keep nibbling on this cookie like a small squirrel.
Adam?
If you like James Gunn's The Suicide Squad, you should see The Losers, because I was thinking about that movie a lot when I saw The Suicide Squad. Not just because of Idris Elba, but that was a part of it for sure. The Losers is cool, and it's a lot of fun. It's a cool action movie that happens to be based on a comic book, in my opinion. And I harbor no ill will towards it. Black Panther, I'll echo everyone's sentiments. Quick shout out to Martin Freeman for being so affable and amusing in this movie. Just like I love him just being strapped into a plane at the end, and he's just like, okay, cool, you know. And I mean, it's what he does best. That said, Black Panther doesn't exist to be a showcase for Martin Freeman. It's a great movie though, and I really enjoy revisiting it. In the next round, I'll go deeper because everyone's already been very articulate. But I love the score. I love the performances. I love the themes. And I also just like the idea of leaning into a character that, you know, this is the title Black Panther. It forced the public to engage with this character and actually understand, where he was coming from. And it wasn't. I feel like when the movie was first announced, people thought it was some sort of political statement or something because of the name of the character. And then when people finally got acquainted with the source material who weren't already familiar with it, like a lot of us, I think it just brought a lot of new people into the fold. And that's what I think is so exciting about the future of this franchise. Even though Chadwick can't continue the role, I can't wait for the next movie. So I vote for Black Panther.
Lauren.
All right. What you guys don't know about me is that I'm a crier, and so I'm gonna probably unsuccessfully get through this without crying. Nope. Here we go. You know what? To spare you all, I'll just say Black Panther.
Okay. All right.
Sorry,
so I'm gonna take everyone's had a beautiful approach to this, so I'm gonna do the chaos nonsense approach to all this because everyone's already done all of the eloquent, lovely things. I'm gonna say this is hot cast versus hot cast to like the max. Like this is ridiculous. This is absolutely, for a moisture show, this matchup is everything.
How did I fail to mention this?
It's everything, okay? Like, from that perspective, you cannot have a winner here. Like, it's almost not possible to talk about. Like, damn, okay? I think it's important, based on the values and morals of this show, that we bring this up with this particular matchup. It's very important to me that we don't miss out on that. So the Losers definitely gets a lot of credit in that department, for sure. I'm going to vote Black Panther because of obvious reasons, but we had to bring that up. I mean, come on. Come on. You're welcome.
Oh, God. Well, with that, Black Panther makes it through because, yeah, it's Black Panther. Like, I really thoroughly enjoy The Losers, but it's Black Panther. All right, next up, we have...
Oh, no.
300 versus Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Adam, I'm going to start with you.
Okay. Yeah, so I get a kick out of 300. I really do. I don't think it has a whole lot on its mind. but I think it was a coming out party for Zack Snyder in a lot of ways. He had a ball with this movie. And I also think, having read the graphic novel, I like a page to screen adaptation. That was him, it was a dry run before Watchmen in so many ways. And I remember he even spliced a frame of Rorschach into either the 300 trailer or 300 itself. I can't remember what it was at the time. And I remember like reading an article and you see the still of Rorschach. It's really cool. But anyway, 300, I think, is a decent like action comic book adaptation. Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, what I like about it is Rise was a firm departure from everything that had come in the Apes franchise prior to it. And I think Rise it balances sentimentality really well with the sci-fi elements. And I have an emotional reaction to that movie. Dawn ups the stakes, and you're fully in the post-apocalyptic landscape at that point. But it has more resonance because you were there for the journey in the beginning with Rise of the Planet of the Apes. And I think that's what's unique about the modern trilogy of Apes movies is you go on this journey with the three films and you understand where these characters came from who are still surviving, even though you meet them in the sequels. I think Dawn is riveting, well acted, and I think it delivers on the promise of Rise really well. And I just think it has, for me, more thematic resonance. But I do think 300 is really cool, and I do rewatch it once in a while, and I'm not ashamed to say that. But Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
Lauren.
Hi, I apologize.
It's all right.
Anyways, as a self-proclaimed not Snyder fan, not a fan of 300, I don't think this is right there. Big fan of Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, though. I echo everything Adam just said. I think besides being like a really compelling drama, there's also times where it's kind of a compelling thriller. And I think that's massively impressive with a bunch of people in green suits to pull off. It's beautifully shot, beautifully done. Once again, I don't think Andy Serkis can do anything wrong. I think he should be in literally everything. I'd be okay with that.
Let's see if we can say that after Carnage.
I thought it was a really good sequel. I do think out of the three, it's maybe my least favorite, but that's not saying a lot because I think they're all incredible films. So I'm going to go with Dawn for this one.
Okay. Mara.
I'm going to kind of do what I've been doing, which is I like 300. I like it a lot, but I just want to like Dawn of the Planet of the Apes more right now. I agree with Lauren. I think that there's a lot of excellence to be found in all three of these films in this new version. And I think that it's always going to be very personal why someone likes one more than the other, because this one is my favorite of the new trilogy. I think Toby Kebbell, I know that you guys probably all appreciate him as much as I do, but I think in the zeitgeist, he is somewhat frequently overlooked, and he's phenomenal because, I mean, heroes are only as good as their villains are. And like Gary Oldman is great for the humans, and that's awesome. But man, Koba it feels that story. It informs the events of the next film. And I agree, Andy Serkis can do no wrong, and he should be in all the things. 300 has all of the abs. Dawn of the Planet of the Apes captured my heart. So thirst will not be quenched in the traditional way here. We're going to go with men in green suits that are equally as appealing for their talent and dedication over abs.
Marisol.
Yes, I will keep this train chug-a-lugging along. Dawn of the Planet of the Apes is a film I wanted. I was just so impatient. It's a film I wanted instead of Rise. I think Rise was them trying to get the Special effects were good for what their lower budget was. Just so much more and photorealistic in Dawn. The special effects just jumped like a whole nother level into Dawn. And that's the story I wanted. I wanted the conflict. I wanted us to get right to the meat of it. Found Dawn so much more interesting than Rise. Like you said, Mar, like that conflict, and that's my favorite of the three new movies. That conflict with Koba and Caesar is just like the most intense and compelling and fascinating aspect of all three movies for me. I love it. It is so rich and like I said, this is my favorite of the three. Absolutely is my favorite of the three. And here's where the stakes were really just came into play, and you were just diving so much further into the apes in their infancy of like establishing this reign and coordinating and creating their own society and the like all the trials and tribulations that were going with that. 300 is I'm not one of those people who, you know, I am such a Zack Snyder fan, but there's still things Zack Snyder does that I don't like. I'm never just all in on somebody. I'm always objective, even the people that are my absolute favorites. I am such a huge Tarantino fan, and there are Tarantino films that I don't like. I hate with a burning fucking passion Michael Bay, but there's a couple Michael Bay films that I love. Yeah, 300 is like the one that like everybody was just so excited about and was such a big hit. And I think 300 is a very shallow film. This is one of those that is even a little bit more than Sucker Punch, is all style and very little substance. And it's such an overload of style. And all the waxed, artificial, like painted in abs in the world can't make up for, you know, oh God, and this is a movie that gave us Michael Fassbender. Or introduced him to American audiences. Still, I think 300 is a beautiful, excellent, gorgeous 25-30 minute short film stretched into this like 2 hour and like 10-minute film for no reason at all. And I cannot at all vote for it over Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, which is my favorite of the series. So definitely Dawn for all the reasons I said.
All right. And Jesse.
So I know that none of us can deny that anytime somebody says, well, this is, and they pause, everyone says Sparta, right? Like that's what 300 has given us. Zack Snyder, I'm a fan of some of the things that he's done, obviously. Steel that I think has a lot more depth than people give it credit for, that asks questions and provides us with an interesting story. Sometimes he's a very horny director. And I think Sucker Punch and 300 both fall into that category of being a horny director. So 300 did nothing for me. But Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, like everyone said, Toby Kebbell, it's awesome. And so that's my choice.
All right. With that, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes makes it through. All righty. We next have Timecop versus Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn. Yes, I put the full title.
As you should. Well done.
Birds
Lauren,
of Prey gets it, but X-Men doesn't?
Sorry?
I said Birds of Prey gets the full title, but X-Men doesn't?
It's called X2. It is called X2.
I want this fight to keep going. Please continue.
Lauren, we're going to start with you.
Okay. I think Jesse and I like slightly disagreed about Birds of Prey. I think I liked it more than he did. I am kind of a sucker for the girl power moments, I'm not gonna lie. Even if they're not always executed perfectly, it just still gives me like the warm and fuzzies. And the moment for me in this one is one handing another one a ponytail for her hair. And I was like, it's so stupid, but more of that, please. I can't fight. I can't fight with all of this. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I was going to say, here you
all women have something on hand.
Was it a perfect film? No, but I thought it was really fun. I loved that it was able to expound on Harley, where I thought they had made her like pretty shallow in the first Suicide Squad. So I liked her being explored more as a character because I think she's a really fun character. My weakness is Ewan McGregor. You put him in automatically 10 times more invested than I would have been otherwise. So that's my vote. I will try and keep it brief. I'll vote for Birds of Prey.
Adam, I'm going to go to you.
This is hard. This is actually hard for me because Timecop is a staple of my youth, and I think a very underrated comic book adaptation. One of the two great Jean-Claude Van Damme mullet movies, and I will say, I just love the idea. You could just pitch the movie. Jean-Claude Van Damme goes back to the Great Depression. I'm like, what? It punches it? I just so much I love about Timecop. So much fun. But Birds of Prey, credit where credit's due. A lot of us wanted people to swoop in and do a salvage job after Suicide Squad. And, Birds of Prey was an instrumental step in the right direction. And, it took a popular character who most people agree they really liked from Suicide Squad, myself included. And not only did she have a chance to shine and move on from Joker, the thing I like about her moving on from Joker is it isn't just her emancipation, it's the audience's emancipation from Jared Leto's Joker. Which
yes.
I really like. I'm sorry, I don't mean to just dunk on the dude, but I'm not crazy about his portrayal. I'm not. And I think Birds of Prey, Dinah Lance, was an exciting inclusion. She has a spin-off coming now, which is cool. I think Journey Smollett's a really cool actor, and I'd love to see her in more stuff. So it's with much reticence that in the interest of cultural relevance, I will lean towards Birds of Prey. But Timecop is so cool, people. Come on, go see it. Jean-Claude Van Damme is still around, but more importantly, so is Timecop. Watch it, and you want to talk about something that deserves a reboot, not because the original sucked either, but they were supposed to be sequels, and it's an infinitely repeatable franchise. So yeah, Birds of Prey, by a little bit.
Marisol.
I'm not going to even, this is so easily Birds of Prey for me. It's not even funny. So I'm going to just save my time and just do a quick little, just tiny little mini rant. I'm sorry. No disrespect to your childhood, but no, it's Birds of Prey. But yeah, I whenever I think of Birds of Prey, sadly, this is minorly on a side note, but I just want to, I will rewatch this movie, not a perfect movie, and it doesn't have to be. I still think it's a solid movie, and I still enjoy it. I still think it has so much going for it. And sadly, when I think about it, I'm reminded of all the fucking incels on the internet who just talked about how this movie failed because it was a female-led film, and it was a female superhero movie. And I'm so tired of every time a film stars women that men go to the internet and say that something fails because it stars women, because somehow women always need to prove themselves in order to have a story about themselves. And they say that that's why Birds of Prey failed, because nobody wanted to see a movie about women or female superheroes starring women. And that kind of stuff sets my skin on fire, and it drives me fucking crazy. And I just want to kick everybody who's ever said that in the dick.
We'll join you.
Okay, good. Because those people don't say anything when the Suicide Squad underperformed at the box office. They don't say, well, it's because men were in the movie alongside Harley Quinn. Nobody says that. They only save that for when sexist pigs try to say that they don't want to see women leading their little boy superhero movies. That's the end of my rant. I like Birds of Prey so much. I think it is okay that the film has flaws. It's still so fun, and it's still kind of messy. And still an incredibly fun film that I like revisiting. It's so easily over Timecop. I'll probably talk about Birds of Prey later in the next round.
Tell.
Oh, you're going to me.
Yes.
Okay. I love this movie so much. I came out of the theater just so excited that we had gotten this movie, but also super heartbroken because I was like, well, a lot of general audience and male fans in particular are going to see this movie and trash it, and we're never going to get another one ever again. So at least we have this one. Was kind of my immediate, like, I had a whiplash of like, oh, I love this. Damn it. Like, it's going to be the one-off that we get one time because I already see what's going to happen with this movie. But I love it so much. I mean, Margot Robbie is just fantastic in the role. It's just insane to me how wonderful she is. Ewan McGregor in this movie is above and beyond. Like, I'm the only thing I'm sad about is we're probably never going to see him as that character ever again, which is a travesty. But honestly, like, how can you not come out of this movie where Harley Quinn is like, I have a PhD, motherfucker, and be like, no, that movie sucks. You can't do it. It can't be done. I'm sorry. That's just how the rules work. But also, I love this movie, but I also love it like more and more loudly just out of spite because of the things that people say negatively about the movie out of unfair places. Like, you're more than entitled to not like the movie, but the people who, you know, Marisol was talking about, I'm like, you know what, out of spite, I'm going to love this movie as loudly as possible at all times, just because I need to drown out all the nonsense. So yeah, it's a pretty emphatically easy one for me.
All right. Jesse, and then I'll go to Mara last.
All right, I'll try to run through this really quick. Birds of Prey, it was a movie that I feel like was rated R for the articles, because like I think you fully can make a rated R Birds of Prey and earn it, but a lot of what made this movie rated R, I was like, that didn't feel necessary. That felt a little forced in there. However, I will say, out of Harley Quinn's 3 cinematic appearances here, I think this is in the middle. It is better than the 2016 Suicide Squad. I did not like it as much as the most recent Suicide Squad. I love Ewan McGregor. I think he's wasted. I've been waiting for Black Mask for like a decade in film, and we get him in one movie. He never wears his mask, and he also maintains almost no attributes that he had in the comics. But that's just me being weird again. But I did have fun with the movie. It sounds like I didn't. One of my favorite things about the brackets is watching movies I haven't seen or I haven't seen in a long time. I want Timecop to move on, so I have an excuse to watch it moving forward. That's my long-winded explanation for Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Where's Adam? He would be so excited.
Mara.
Okay, so my words have been incorrectly called eloquent twice tonight, so I'm going to wreck that. Because I'm still on enough drugs that I'm going to ramble somewhat incoherently, and I'm going to blame it on drugs. So, okay, first of all, Adam is 100% right. I support all things he said about Timecop, and I'm just going to throw out there my casting, because this is going to happen now. The only modern day person that can kick as well as JCVD is Donnie Yen, and I also want to see him in all of the things. And I want Andy Serkis to be Senator McComb. So I get my circus in and get it with Donnie Yen. It's going to be perfect. So please greenlight it. I'm available. Hire me. Give me money. Okay. I legitimately, I know I've said it many, many times. I was very concerned that the movie was going to be really good, but that it would not speak to me. Because again, I think that it is 100% doable for women to be misogynist toward other women. And I don't come at female-led movies from that perspective. It's just a perspective of a lack of common ground and identity with their experiences, because mine have been vastly different. That being said, I was thrilled that the trailers for that movie did not sell the movie that we received to me, because I did not like those trailers. I love this movie. I've also realized something through everyone talking about Ewan McGregor. I have an attraction to unhinged male characters. Unhinged female characters, it really doesn't matter. I think I like people. Maybe it's because like I've been very open that I suffer from mental illness. Maybe it's because I just see some of that, and apparently I'm a narcissist. I don't know, but I like what's happening there. I really do. I dig it. Also, every single one of you is invited to come visit, because I will make you that egg sandwich, and I will slay that egg sandwich. So
Yes.
you are all invited. But one thing I love about this movie that I think really works for me, because I don't usually like very heavy-handed social messaging of any kind, even when I 100% agree with the message. I like that they showed like Harley's friends at the taco place or whatever. They showed them talking about her in a way that like toxic masculinity talks about women. Like she's so incapable of having any self-identity outside of her relationship. And, you know, I like that idea of the lens of this movie shows that anybody can look at someone like less than what they are because of their gender. And that really spoke to me. Unhinged Ewan is great. Really, really sad. We're not going to get more of that in the future. I mean, we might go back to the past and that's fine, but the guy's getting older. So we gotta hurry that up. So,
well, with that, Birds of Prey moves on. All right, let's go to...
Love your Timecop.
this is a fitting one.
Okay,
kind of.
So there's a
Terminator 3 for me.
This one could be my villain.
Your
this
villain
could be my
story.
villain origin story. So let's go to Joker versus Raiders of the Lost Ark. Jesse, I'm going to start with you. Oh, or no, I'm not. Hang on. Am I?
I don't know. Are you?
Jesse?
I'm sorry, that was so mean.
There we go.
Jacob's an asshole.
I really need to get that as an actual button.
One of those for me. I'm going to shut up.
You're up.
Wait, I'm up?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So I missed some things. Sorry, we had a little connection disturbance.
No, that's all good. All good.
This isn't an easy choice, but as somebody that like it's probably not great for my soul, I think I watched Joker 3 or 4 times in theaters, and like probably need therapy after like that many watches. I just wanted everyone to see it, and there was I had friends and family members that weren't keen on seeing the movie. I was like, oh no, but you should. And then I just watched them be uncomfortable the whole time, like, yes, I relish in this. Raiders is classic. I was gonna say, well, I have a Raiders poster, so there, but I was like, I also have a Joker poster, so that doesn't help. I think Raiders of the Lost Ark will live in cinematic history and be remembered for longer. I think it has a little more going for it. I think Joker is incredible, is a very great example of a comic book being taken seriously and kind of an Elseworld story. I appreciate it. I admire it. I had an awesome time with it. It deserved the recognition that it got. It will be Dr. Henry Jones Jr. for this kid.
All right. Marisol.
Oh, shit. So I have some choices in my life, and I could watch Joker again. Or I could watch all the films that are better than it. All of them for the rest of my life. Or I could just watch The King of Comedy, or I could watch Taxi Driver, the films, both the Scorsese films that Todd Phillips wants so hard to be and thinks he's on that level and thinks he's making that story and thinks that he's making that level of art. And he just so aggressively is not. Joker's an upsetting film for me. I find it very frustrating. I find its self-importance and its incredibly muddled message and its auto-fellation. Is that a thing?
I mean, according to this movie, it definitely is.
It's about to be. This movie sucks itself off so hard that it's a little bit nauseating for me. It's very difficult. I know the scene on the stairs is so iconic and was iconic before the movie even came out, but the song and the slow-mo, it's really it's not, there's so much in this movie that I just think is so off. And Todd Phillips is not the filmmaker, the director of Old School and the Hangover trilogy, who has shown in his career that he champions these characters, that he champions like the heroes in his movies. The cool guys in his movies are Bradley Cooper's character from like The Hangover. Those are the kinds of people that Todd Phillips genuinely thinks are cool, and he likes as the heroes of his movies. We came to this weird place with Joker. I will stop there. My point is that I have a lot of problems with Joker, and I think that it is a very incredibly shallow hack job rehash of much deeper, much more complex work from a legendary director that he just tried to copy and paste and turn into a great movie here with Joker. I'll dive into that at another time at length. Raiders of the Lost Ark. I don't need to say anything about that hasn't been said for the last like whatever 40 years about this film, 43 years, whatever, 42, 41 years, I don't know. 40. Wow, 40. Yeah. Raiders of the Lost Ark is a legendary movie. It's one of my favorite films of all time. And it is something that Joker will never ever be, no matter how hard it ever tries. Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Wow.
Not even close.
Just let that all out.
Was that too much? Was that too much? Did I?
No, this is everyone's therapy.
Was that not subtle? I'm sorry.
Adam.
Poor Jesse had to take a lap.
I'm so
He's like, I need some air. I gotta go walk the cat.
Nothing to do with you or how much I like you. I just had to let out.
The thing that's funny about Joker is, I've heard people refer to Joker. Well, it's an Oscar-winning film. I'm like, an incidentally Oscar-winning film, because Joaquin's great, but he always is. I think his performance is very, very good. But I think the Oscar we gave to Joaquin could have been interchangeable at this point. So I think giving it to him for Joker was somewhat incidental. I think it was inevitable. And I think the score is fantastic. The problem I have with Joker, even though I like the movie a little bit more than Marisol, I still have significant issues with it as well. And I do feel like it is another movie with a Joker costume thrown on it. And that's fine. I'm okay with these one-off stories, these reimaginings of characters. But I at the end of it, I don't want to be scratching my head more than I was at the beginning. Raiders of the Lost Ark, as I alluded to when we were talking about Last Crusade, that is my Indiana Jones film, as it is for a lot of people. It's utterly immersive, so much fun. Captures Harrison Ford when he was in that phase of his career where he was just a little crabby, but still, had that smirk on his face. And I finally saw The Frisco Kid with him and Gene Wilder, which is a lot of fun if people haven't seen it. And the two of them together is worth it alone. But seeing Harrison between Star Wars movies when he made that, just channeling that youthful energy he had, there's something about him in that era. And that's what I think makes Raiders such a unique success. On top of all the great set pieces and effects work and amusing dialogue, he is what makes Indiana Jones so special. So Raiders is my vote by a mile. I think Joker has some. I think the cinematographer Joaquin and the composer were working full tilt, but I think, to Marisol's point, Todd Phillips was patting himself on the back prematurely, and I think nominating him for Best Director is a bit much. Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Mara.
So, I gotta say, I have some problems with Joker. Here's the thing. I really, really wish that I could go back in time and that this movie was in no way connected to any other existing IP, and that it focused on a story of a person let down by infrastructure. Because as a veteran who relies on their healthcare and their medication from the federal government, I can tell you that it's fucked. So I find a lot of resonance with that, because there have been plenty of people that now, luckily, after like stuff started getting really terrible in the Gulf the second time, when veterans kept coming home and killing themselves, they kind of started fixing it a little bit, but it's still really, really terrible. But I feel like that movie, sadly, once we got past that initial like first act introduction to why he is becoming the way that he is, I feel like you can, for example, you can make me root for a character who commits violent acts while still condemning their acts. Like, what I only watched Godfather for the very first time this year, and I've never wanted more in my life to be watching a character commit a double murder and get away with it than I did watching that movie. But they knew that it was wrong. The movie didn't tell me he was right. The movie didn't tell me he did anything good or that I should cheer for him because he committed violence. I feel like Joker romanticized and reveled in that violence in a way that I think is really, really unhealthy and really damaging for people, because sadly, some people cannot separate art from reality. And I'm glad to see that there hasn't been like something really specific related to this, but like You Were Never Really Here is the Joaquin Phoenix kills a bunch of people movie that I can get behind.
I'm with you, Mara.
Thank you.
Big time.
But every single thing everyone said about Raiders is 100% true. And the one thing is that message in that movie is not at all muddled. Nazis suck. So sexy Harrison Ford, like really just thirst trap heavy movie. And I don't care at all about age or mileage. The man is a treasure, and we should never let him fly planes. Raiders.
Lauren.
Once again, I'll try and keep it brief because we all have a lot of feelings. And I'm just gonna, everybody has pretty much said how I feel. What I want to it is that one movie made me feel like absolute shit afterwards, and the other one makes me feel giddy on the inside. And Harrison Ford is so sexy in this one.
Indeed.
That's a terrible reason to pick it.
It's not terrible.
But you know, everybody else has already said all the other reasons we should pick it, and so I'm gonna just
moisture.
For the moisture, it's absolutely
and just the right amount of chest hair.
Yes.
Perfect amount of chest hair. However, we did have a what is it? Not emancipated. When you're
emancipated would be
emaciated. We had an emaciated Joaquin Phoenix dancing in his underwear, doing this thing. That's pretty
impressive. Yeah, it was great, Jesse.
That was a choice.
Why'd you remind me of that, Jesse?
Look, Christian Bale did it better in The Machinist.
You've just shut down my libido. Thank you. Dan, Jesse ruined me.
Yeah, Jesse sure knows how to dry up a room.
Okay.
Bachelor party's over, Swift.
Oh, man. So I don't think I can top any of what just happened, but I'm going to go ahead with my point anyway. I knew when I saw and did a reaction to the Joker trailer that this was not going to be my vibe whatsoever. My channel was a garbage fire for months after I did the Joker trailer reaction because people were not happy that I was not vibing at all with what this movie was going to be. And that was hell for me. Like, I think I hid it from my channel for a couple of months because I just didn't want to deal with it anymore.
Pretty sure we deleted it in the end.
I don't know. It may exist somewhere still. I have no idea. I've kind of given up on any of that at this point. But I thought that I was like, I didn't want to see the movie because I knew based on the information the trailer gave me that I was not going to have a good time. Like I was like, this is what trailers are for. They're supposed to tell you if you have any interest in seeing a movie or not. And it was like, we saw it because we see movies that I don't want to see a lot of the time just because that's the world that we live in, where we talk about movies and that's what happens. I just have so many issues with this movie. And then when the Academy Awards was like, yeah, this is the movie we should all be watching and talking about and giving awards to, I was like, I live in hell, literally. Like, what timeline have I catapulted myself into where I now not only have to talk about it because it's a movie, but I have to talk about it because the Academy Awards were like, yeah. And I was like, why? What have I done to deserve living in this timeline? I hate it here. So I have a lot of bad feelings about this movie, and I don't want to harp on it forever, but I just need to get it out there that I just look at it and go, why are we giving this awards? Why are we telling people that this is the direction we should be going in? Like, why are we telling Todd Phillips to keep doing things like this? This is bad. This is really, just stop. Just please stop. I can't, I haven't rewatched it. I probably never will again. Unless there's some reason where my life depends on it, maybe, but that's a maybe. I just can't and I don't even like Indiana Jones that much. It's fine, but I just can't. I'm done.
So with that, Raiders of the Lost Ark makes it through.
I'd like everyone to know that this round is almost popping out a stitch. So this is one to remember forever.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
If you need to polite discourse.
All right. Well, next up we have The Legend of Zorro versus RoboCop 3.
Okay, I like this.
All right, Adam. I'm going to allow you to gush.
So these are the bastard children of their franchises in many ways. Legend of Zorro is that movie is very similar to The Mummy Returns, but unlike The Mummy Returns, it tries to go with a very similar time, storyline with them, having a kid and the marriage is being put to the test because they're going through an adventure, but then bam, Rufus Sewell shows up as a mysterious count, and he's really weird most of the movie. RoboCop 3, what I like about it is that was like a make or break moment, and they didn't really nail it. Fred Decker, he's known more for the Monster Squad, but what I thought he did well with RoboCop 3 is even though they downgraded it, that one was PG-13, right? I think, yeah, they downgraded the violence. It's still pulpy. It's still fun. They had to recast RoboCop at that point, but it's not great. But what I like about it is when you go back and watch the original RoboCop trilogy, they're all of a piece. You can watch all three of them, and they feel like they're in the same universe, more or less. And RoboCop 3 was the last gasp of that. I would take RoboCop 3 over the remake with Kinnaman any day. It's a much more fun movie to watch. Has a lot more to say, and it's relatively brief. It doesn't overstay its welcome, which I appreciate. The Legend of Zorro does overstay its welcome for me. And I don't want to give too much away, but the final act, it has a train sequence. It's pretty entertaining. Similar to the one in Lone Ranger. But it's too little too late for me at that point. I didn't like how quippy Legend of Zorro was compared to Mask, which was much more of an immersive, actual swashbuckling movie. And the sequel, the biggest travesty, I think, in Legend of Zorro, someone decided they wanted to straighten Antonio Banderas' hair. What the hell? Because the first movie,
Adam.
like the first movie, he has this amazing hair, and it's so curly and lush. And then in Legend of Zorro, someone just took a straightener and just steam the life out of his head. And he looks like Shemp from the Three Stooges to me. I know that's an older reference for some of the youngins in the audience, but Google it. Google Shemp. You'll know what I'm talking about. RoboCop 3. Okay, that's what I'm getting at. But these are both fun little stinkers. But RoboCop 3 is a more efficient stinker. So I'm going to go with that one.
I'm pretty sure Shep was the elephant in George of the Jungle.
Mm-hmm. Good boy.
That Shep or Shemp, SHEMP is who I'm talking about.
Oh, okay.
Shemp from the Three Stooges.
Very important distinction.
Yeah.
Very important distinction here, people.
My favorite Stooge, but that's another conversation.
Marisol. If you don't have much, just pick one.
For serious, like for
the
serious,
second time.
It's Legend of Zorro. I'm not crazy about either of these, but RoboCop 3 doesn't even have Peter Weller in it. Sorry, but he's Peter Weller, and he's not even in the third one. It's PG-13. And Legend of Zorro is like took all the sex appeal from the first one and is like, wait, kids have to watch it, and turned it into like a Saturday morning Zorro. So
It's very Zoinks.
It's very Scooby-Doo. Yeah, it is. And it's just so much less sexy. But even still, I would take like permed hair, sex down Antonio Banderas and Catherine Zeta-Jones over not Peter Weller. So Legend of Zorro.
Jesse.
So I'm picking Legends of Zorro for two reasons. And one of them is the faces that Catherine Zeta-Jones makes when she fights. And then point number two would be the one scene where it suddenly turned into a horror movie, and the two people that have been working with Catherine Zeta-Jones are shown to have like their throats slit and shoved into a broom closet. And I'm like, oh, hard right. All right. And it's not really that whole movie is like you guys are saying, kind of like a campy Saturday morning cartoon brought to live action. And then all of a sudden there's like brutal getting crushed, people getting blown up. Legend of Zorro.
All right, Mara.
I'll be quick, especially because my face hurts now, and I taste blood, which would normally be delightful, but now it's not fun. Everything Adam said about RoboCop 3 is accurate. I've watched Law and Order SVU forever, and it only occurred to me in like January of this year that her old boyfriend, who is the IA guy, is freaking RoboCop 3. That's Robert John Burke. Because he got old.
Yeah,
and
from
I didn't
Thinner.
recognize him anymore. It's crazy. Every single thing he said, I agree with. Every single thing everyone else said, I also agree with. And for those reasons, I pick RoboCop 3.
Thank you.
All right, Lauren.
Sorry, Jesse keeps muting me.
Not us. It's just that we can.
I'm just kidding.
I'm sorry, Mara. We keep popping your stitches.
Actually, I don't know if we've actually popped one before.
I just want to say I feel so vindicated, the right word, by Adam. His hair. Why did they straighten his hair? I felt so strongly about that. And I felt like a crazy person until Adam brought it up. And I was like, I'm not alone.
I'm sending Jacob a side-by-side comparison with Shemp the Stooge right now. It's coming. Okay, it's on its way.
That being said, even in a less sexy version, there's only so much you can do to make Catherine Zeta-Jones less sexy.
Mm-hmm.
She's
Amen.
so hot. It's obviously worse than the first one. I don't think that's a question here. I am such a simp, though, for swashbuckling movies that even a not good one, I'm like, yeah, this is fun. Is it good? No, but I'm having a good time. So recognizing that it's not a great movie, it's kind of a guilty pleasure. What I think is so interesting is Rufus Sewell. A Knight's Tale is one of my top 5 favorite movies of all time. And he's genuinely terrifying in that one. And in this one, he's a joke. And I'm like, I know you can be intimidating and scary. What? Why are you the way that you are in this one?
No, that's Adam's show.
So yeah, it's Legend of Zorro, but not by much. It's
just letting this is what Adam is talking about.
Yeah.
Wait, which one's Antonio?
Oh man. Taylor. Pick one.
I've seen part of the Legend of Zorro, so there we go. I have not seen RoboCop 3. I apologize.
Yeah,
You're in for a treat.
And I'm just gonna go Legend of Zorro because that's the one I've seen. And
Is it because they didn't shoot any dicks off in RoboCop 3? Is that why?
Probably. With that, Legend of Zorro makes it through, and we move on to
this
our
is gonna be interesting.
next movie, Venom vs. Mystery Men.
I thought I was going to get a soundbite, but I'm not.
Lauren, I'm going to start with you.
okay. I remember watching Venom at a crew screening when I worked at the theater and being so wildly confused. That movie changes genres like 6 times. I got whiplash from it. Started out as like a procedural, and then it was a horror movie for a minute, and then it turned into like a rom-com, but between Venom and Tom Hardy, and I was like, what is happening here? This is so messy. That being said, it's so much fun. It's so bad, but it's so much fun. Mystery Men, however, Jesse introduced me to it, and I think it's such an underappreciated little treasure of a movie. Jeffrey Rush is just my favorite in everything he does, and this is no exception. It's silly, but it knows that it's silly. I think its jokes are really dumb and intelligent at the same time, which is my vibe. I like humor that's a little bit dumb if you're smart enough to get it. I think Mystery Men is underappreciated, and I would like it to go through, so that's my pick.
All right. Marisol.
Oh yeah, this is easy. This is so easy for me. And Mystery Men is an underrated film. I always recommend it. 99 was just a great year for that. I'll recommend shit all over the board, like Galaxy Quest and Mystery Men. Great kind of send-ups of their genres. Anytime Ben Stiller's really good at between Mystery Men and Tropic Thunder. Whenever he's in a movie that's really like a really good like tongue-in-cheek kind of playful, like poking fun at the genre that it's supposed to be, all about. Mystery Men is if you love superhero movies as much as all of us do, Mystery Men is a must watch. Not because it'll be the best movie you've ever seen, but because it is such a playful, just such a venerable, fun, and legitimately clever minor classic send-up of superhero movies. It's like the losers before the losers. It's in terms of like a bunch of like, people who know that they're not amazing, but they're still going to try to go and save the world. Had no expectation for it. It was made still in an age where like it wasn't hyper aware of itself. It was genuinely trying to be a playful send-up of the genre. And also is still a really fun superhero movie in and of itself. Look out for Michael Bay playing the leader of the frat boy douche club in that movie, the villain club in that movie. If you ever want to see Michael Bay act, it's almost as bad as the films he directs. But yeah, Venom is no, like Venom. It's not the movie we want. I know everybody projects a lot onto it. Everybody wants it to be better. I know everybody's now putting all the goodwill into Carnage, the next movie coming out. Venom is, like you were saying, Lauren, it's just all over the map. It's just like 8 different kind of movies. You have the cast is literally like just the main cast is just all Oscar nominated actors, and it hurts my fucking soul to see Michelle Williams looking like her soul is dead in this whole film, the same way she looked in Greatest Showman, just looking like she's just dead inside. The same woman who was in Brokeback Mountain and Blue Valentine and just anything else that she's been in, just looks like she's dying inside being in this film. Yeah, it's wacky. It's not. We need an R-rated Venom movie. And this is not it. And this is weak and just cutting itself short at every opportunity with Venom. I was disappointed. I don't really want to watch it again. I've seen Venom a couple times, but I don't want to watch it again. This is so easily Mystery Men.
Mara.
This goes to show you that I am perfectly comfortable with who I am. When Dan and I saw Venom, I feel bad because a lot of the critics that were at our screening, before the movie even started, they were like, well, let's get this piece of dog crap out of the way. And it's like, oh, cool, you gave it no chance whatsoever. You were already convinced. And we weren't sure what to expect. But right after it was over, we were like, okay, we were the only two people in this whole theater that actually really liked this movie. And so we immediately validated and left because we were like, we want to speak to no one about this because I don't want to get in a conversation where I get attacked for liking it. And I do really, really like Mystery Men. However, Venom worked for me. That's because there's something wrong with me. But like every single thing Tom Hardy does works for me. I really, really like it. I love rewatching it. And I'm excited because I really hope that the sequel is good enough that it will bring people around that the first movie just didn't work for them, because I get it. Like it's a very specific speed. And unless you operate at that speed, it's just going to feel off. But for me, I'm perfectly okay with Mystery Men going through because I really, really like the movie. But I'm going to vote for Venom because that is truly where my heart lies in this argument.
Jesse?
All right, so before Paul Rubens was getting caught being mischievous in a theater, he was doing farts on command in a fantastic 90s comedy as the Spleen. As William H. Macy's The Shoveler said, I don't want to stand behind you, but I'll proudly stand beside you. And that's what I'm choosing to do, is stand beside Mystery Men, because it is phenomenal. The cast is out of this world. Greg Kinnear as Captain Amazink is so, I don't want to say underrated because there's not enough.
Greg Buck Kinnear.
Yeah, that's true. That is
true.
And you got Tony P and Tony C, the Disco Boys, and just a cast of colorful characters. Not to mention, we talk about Michael Bay. We cannot forget Dane Cook as the Waffler. So Mystery Men is one of my favorite comedies. It's a fantastic superhero movie. It's got a hidden message in there, I think, about rising up above your status. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I'm too much into it. But I'm going to do to Venom what Fury was supposed to do, which is junk it.
Adam.
I want to back up Mara a little bit with Venom, in the sense that, like, I do enjoy it more than most as well. I had fun with it. The thing with me as a Spider-Man fan is I was really fascinated with Carnage specifically as a young comic book fan, and I was always mesmerized by Venom. Was this big, scary, hulking, evil Spider-Man, right? And the thing that scared me about Carnage is he was smaller than Venom, but he was like 10 times more dangerous. And that really immersed me in the whole symbiote story. And the thing that holds me back from liking Venom more is the lack of Spider-Man, admittedly, because I want that interaction so bad. That obsession with Spider-Man and Parker is a big part of Eddie Brock's character. And I think they did a decent enough job substituting, other things that would, be formative issues for Brock in the movie. But it ultimately rang a little hollow for me. But all the humor works for me. I think a lot of the things that people love about King Shark and the Suicide Squad, we saw in Venom, and they made me laugh a lot. I think Tom Hardy just being stressed out by everything that's happening is really good entertainment too. The movie's too long for its premise. could be a little bit shorter. I just again, I am gonna ultimately vote Mystery Men, but I do like Venom more than most, and I'm hopeful about the sequel, especially with Andy Serkis directing, because I think he has a unique sensibility. So we'll see where it goes. Mystery Men is such a lovely, brilliant little piece of comic book satire that knew what it was doing, but wasn't trying to address so many things that were still satirizing to this day. I think shows like The Boys and Invincible and other things owe a lot to Mystery Men. I think Mystery Men did it first without any self-awareness. It just set out to make a loving tribute to superhero movies that also made fun of all the tropes in a really efficient way. And all the humor really works in Mystery Men for me. I love the practical effects in it. I'm also a huge Tom Waits fan, and I love his character in this. And I love that he invents weapons that are non-lethal. That's just a wonderful visual gag. So I will vote Mystery Men.
Taylor.
You gonna make me do this?
It's up to you.
I want to make her do this.
I fucking hate Mystery Men so much. I fucking hate it. I hate it so much. Oh, I've never seen Venom, and it makes me want to watch Venom so that I can maybe vote for Venom because I hate Mystery. I hate it.
Can I just build it? I just want to give some context. I was working and we were on our call doing a study session, and I see on Letterboxd that Taylor's watching Mystery Men. Okay, and then later I see 1 star. Wait, she hated it, and she just comes out, that movie fucking sucks.
I hate everything that it's trying to do, everything that it wants to be, everything that it's about. Just, I can't do it. I'm about to make everyone cry, but I can't do it.
You literally made Jesse cry. I want you to know that.
Taylor, I'm just confused. Tell us what you really think.
I looked over and Jesse's eyes were watering, and I was like, "Are you crying?" He's like, "Shut up."
If Jacob dressed up as the Blue Raja, would you just straight up kill him?
I mean, probably, because one, that is super culturally inappropriate on every level, but also.
Hank Azaria is known for being culturally inappropriate. If you didn't know,
I know, but I don't want to lead Jacob down that road just as a personal choice for him. Look, I wanted to like this movie so bad. I think the cast is amazing, and I think that the aesthetic of it is great. But I just I'm a person where if you put a bunch of fart jokes into a movie, I'm gonna turn it off. I'm that person. So this movie to me was unbearable on every single level. I can't. I know that everyone in the world finds them funny, but I would literally rather do anything with my time than have to listen to people do anything with fart jokes. I will literally, I'll do anything else. So maybe I need to watch Venom just to I don't know. Because Venom's also doesn't seem like it's on my wavelength, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just, maybe I shouldn't talk about movies. Maybe I'm not a movie person because I can't.
Taylor, have you gotten through Son of the Mask yet?
No.
Okay. If you don't like fart jokes, just
yeah. No, it's gonna be rough.
Mystery Men will get immensely better after you do.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm a very unpopular opinion person. Apparently, I come on to this to just break everyone on the panel's heart by the things that I say, and try to really test how much these people want to be friends with me with the things that come out of my mouth. So I'm abstaining. I'm abstaining from voting because you don't need my vote.
I mean, it's already gone.
Yeah. So
no, it's important to have your vote. You're like the Armand White of this panel. It's just
yeah, but he's an intentional troll.
Okay, right, true. All right.
I wasn't going to invoke Armand White's name. Yeah.
Jesse, the next time I see Taylor in person, I'm gonna rip ass in front of her so bad.
Yeah.
I mean, you can.
We're all gonna eat refried hatred before we see it.
That's
No.
fine.
Wrap her in a circle.
No,
man.
Taylor.
Your wallet is
okay.
gonna hurt because you're gonna need to buy me a lot of drinks to put up with what's gonna happen next time we hang out with everybody. So
That's fun. There
you go.
That's fun.
No, I support you 1,000%, Taylor. This is the hill I died on with Into the Spider-Verse. So
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you
All
want
right.
to promote this episode, promote it as the episode where both Jesse and I cry.
For
If you want, like, this
as
picture
far
looks
as
so
the
close to
gymnast
coming
team.
out. If I rip it, it'll bleed like a mother, and I will cry. Do you want me to do that for you?
No,
please don't.
Not on
Please
purpose.
Please
only
don't.
if you want to.
And Jesse was only crying because of the farts.
Next up.
Soldier and Marisol's take
I have
on
a sneaking
Into the
suspicion it
Spider-Verse,
might make Mara
I was fine.
But
And then
Mystery
Mystery Man might cut it for me.
All right. Next up, we have Spider-Man 3 versus The Mask. Jesse, I am going to start with you.
The Mask is fucking fantastic. That's it.
All right. Lauren?
How am I supposed to follow that? The Mask, I think, is a genuinely really fun movie. Also, if we're talking about moisture, in this movie, it's young Cameron Diaz for sure. Yeah, it's okay, baby. You're right. If you watch Spider-Man 3 as a comedy, it's okay.
It's really funny when he hits Mary Jane.
If you watch it as an intentional movie, it's awful. It cannot decide what it wants to be, and it makes me sad. It has such an identity crisis. And so I'm gonna vote for The Mask because at least it knew what it was. Sam Raimi, he sure didn't know what he was doing with the third one, and it shows.
You'll get your money when you fix the damn door.
Adam?
It's an interesting matchup because so many people accuse Spider-Man 3 of ripping off The Mask, at least for a portion of the film. I remember that dancing scene. A lot of people felt like it was invoking The Mask at the time. And I don't entirely disagree. Spider-Man 3 was a film that when it came out, people dogpiled on it a lot. And I saw it in theaters an odd number of times, I think like 4 times. Because I was really hyped about that movie. And as I said in the Venom round, I love all the symbiote stuff. So I was really excited about the prospect of Venom. And in hindsight, it's so obvious that it was retrofitted into the script, and it's so unnatural. And it really, if the focus had just been on Sandman, I think we would have had a better movie. But I don't hate Spider-Man 3. I really don't. I think it's better than Amazing Spider-Man 2. And I think there's still some pretty exciting action in it. The Mask I revisited recently to see, if it was mostly nostalgia. And I'll admit, for me, it is mostly nostalgia. When I rewatch The Mask, it is a little hollow. It's still funny. But after having rewatched that, and as I said to the panel before we went on the air, muscling through Son of the Mask over the past week, which was really hard, I am dying for an R-rated Mask reboot. I think you got great source material there. I think it's a movie that deserves like a $20 million reboot through like a smaller studio, and really like get to the humor of the character and embrace some of the darkness of it. I'll say the Mask barely, because I think what it did at the time is it was a special moment in Jim Carrey's career. I think it engaged a lot of people with what could be done with that kind of source material. And Spider-Man 3 was kind of like a moment of truth where we had to take a breather from Spider-Man and see where we went next. I think they're both watchable. mask slightly, I guess. I'm not terribly passionate about that decision.
Marisol?
So I never thought about it until this actual second. So thank you for this matchup, because I just realized, listening to Adam speak and looking at this matchup in front of me, that I want to see Sam Raimi's The Mask. That I want
R-rated.
to see that. His 1,000%, like Evil Dead Sam Raimi's The Mask. Like that's what I want to see. And I think that's what we all deserve. Like, one of my favorite, so Spider-Man 3 came out, but then Sam Raimi immediately bounced back and earned all my good graces with Drag Me to Hell, which is one of my like favorite horror movies from the last 20 years. I fucking love Drag Me to Hell. And Spider-Man 3 is such a mess, is such a train wreck that I actually can rewatch very easily, but I think it's an absolute mess. And I think it is like a self-sabotage kind of movie. Obviously, Raimi was very frustrated with Sony and in a bad place. And I think we saw that in the movie. But like, it's so recognizably like a weaker film, but it's such a easily digestible weaker film. I don't know how to say that in a way that makes sense. I can easily rewatch Spider-Man 3 over and over again. I have seen it many times. The Mask, like Adam said, had so much great memories from it as a child. Rewatched it not too long ago. Not as amazing as I thought it was, but still just has some of that just sinister Who Framed Roger Rabbit edge to it. In the special effects, which are just so cutting edge for that time. And doesn't fully commit to the sinister possibilities of that story. So would love to see, bottom line, would love to see Sam Raimi, early or late 80s Sam Raimi take on The Mask in a remake. And my vote is for The Mask.
All right. Mara.
So Jesse and Lauren have each cried. I don't want these words to hurt you, but I fucking hate The Mask. I do. I really, really do. I don't like it. I like none of it. I hate rewatching it. Even Sexy Cameron Diaz does not work for me. Like, I don't like the movie. I don't like it. Don't like it at all. I don't like it. I don't like it, Jesse. I don't like it at all. But
hang on. Well, now I feel like you're trying.
No, I love that you do love it, though. Just because I don't love it doesn't mean I don't want you to love it. I want you to love it more now. I want you to come attack my house and set it on fire. You love it so much. I'll take the insurance money. That was not a solicitation. But no, I just don't like it. I don't love Spider-Man 3. And I'm not even like angry that The Mask is going forward, because I just fucking hate it. I don't even care. I'm gonna vote Spider-Man 3 because you know what? I am broken inside.
Well, luckily for you guys, I just spent like 5 minutes looking through my comic book collection. I cannot find my Mask comic because I wanted to contribute to Adam's point that we need an R-rated Mask reboot because the comics are not what we were presented with in that film. We kind of got the PG version, and it's funny to say.
Or its sequel, you can acknowledge it. I'm trying. We all have to face it.
I took your Mask comic and I pooped on it. That's where it's
Are you talking about Man in the Iron Mask, Adam? Because that's not a sequel.
Go on.
Mara, I don't think you heard me, but I sure did.
I actually have my Mara plugs in right now.
It's okay. A lot of people do. I am not for everyone. I'm like human ipecac. You only need me when you need me, and it's not pleasant when you do.
I'm just going to move on to the next one because we all know that that's not true. Let's move on to the next. We have X-Men Days of Future Past versus Red Sonja.
I like that.
You know you want to. Go ahead.
Sorry?
I thought you knew you wanted to go right to me because you do.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just going to say it right now. A lot of love for Red Sonja. A lot of love for it. It is literally, if you just take like the two Conan movies and Red Sonja, they're like all the exact same movie if you just break it down into like basic storytelling elements. I don't even care. I don't even care. I really like this movie. It is no X-Men Days of Future Past, though. I absolutely unabashedly love this movie. I also 100% love reliving that moment when Robert Meyer Burnett was like, not if you watch the Rogue cut. So fantastic. Also, you guys, everyone, if you haven't seen the Rogue cut over there in the people watching, please watch it. It's so good. Yeah, it's fantastic. It's a wonderful adaptation. It's a love letter to those comics. It works for me so much. And I hope that Jesse agrees, because I'm really trying to like mend this bond. I broke it. I'm trying to mend it.
Jesse's been taking a lot of blows. Sorry.
I don't think it worked.
So I looked at it's funny looking at this list of films. Red Sonja might have been the only time I would give X-Men Days of Future Past the win. So I'll vote for X-Men Days of Future Past.
I'm sorry.
Marisol.
This is so easy. I just really want to see, when I learned that Ennio Morricone did the score for Red Sonja, that just bumped it up like 1,000%, like in movies that I need to watch like tomorrow. But I still haven't seen it yet. I learned this like months ago and I still haven't seen it. So I'm full of shit. But I will see Red Sonja one day. Haven't seen it, doesn't matter. Even if I saw it, I don't think in the 100 years it would be as good as X-Men Days of Future Past. Love Days of Future Past. It's one of my absolute favorite X-Men movies, and I love X-Men. It's absolutely one of my favorite. And there's been some stinkers in here, but Days of Future Past is not a stinker. Absolutely gets my vote.
Lauren?
Been muted once more. I guess I have an unpopular opinion about Days of Future Past, and I'll tell you why. I think a lot of it works. What doesn't work for me kind of ruins the movie for me. I think my biggest gripe with the newer X-Men movies is that because it was Jennifer Lawrence, they felt the need to make Mystique a hero, and it fucking pissed me off. You know what? No, not part of my language. I'm mad. She's a villain, and she should be a villain. She's a great villain. And they were like, well, people like Jennifer Lawrence, so let's just change her entire goddamn character and everything about her so that she can be a hero. Oh, sorry. I have a lot of Mystique rage. This is for Jesse.
She's my anger translator.
If you would change that one thing about Days of Future Past, it'll work for me. But Mystique being the hero is such a cop-out. It's such a, how can we conform to who's popular right now? We have this actress that everybody loves. And as an X-Men fan, it fucking makes me furious. Sorry, I'm channeling a lot of Jesse's rage about this movie, too. She is not a hero.
I spared you guys from a very similar reaction.
I think there's a difference.
So Dark Phoenix is probably Lauren's favorite.
Dark Phoenix is, I'm pretty sure, already gone.
There's a difference for me between making your villain like have a good backstory and sympathetic, and then straight up turning them into a hero. That being said, I'm still voting for it, but I'm
yeah.
Adam?
I understand the Mystique frustration. And to that, I say that's so Raven.
Adam Collins, everybody.
Oh my god! I didn't know you were a dad right away, but that just confirmed it. So.
Yeah, sorry.
That is
had to let that one out.
One of the funniest things I've ever heard.
It was, Lauren, I appreciate that, but it was abundantly dumb. So with that in mind, X-Men: Days of Future Past, I jive with this movie for the most part. I think it's the last great, like really enjoyable ensemble X-Men movie, and I'm eager to recapture some of that magic. I think some of the like more one-off X-Men movies like Deadpool and Logan have been very, very enjoyable and very special in their own right. But I think Days of Future Past is the last time we saw the whole gang together where it really meant something. And I think it also threaded the needle that Star Trek Generations didn't quite get right, where it was trying to combine, the two different iconic casts. And Days of Future Past does combine both eras in a very interesting way, both in terms of time travel and the way they combine them in the present day. Red Sonja is really fun 80s schlock, and I'm a big fan of all the Sword and Sandals movies from that era. If PJ's listening, put in Masters of the Universe, put in Beastmaster, do it all. Chance Ellison will thank you. So I think Red Sonja is a lot of fun, and I think when that eventually gets its reboot that they've been trying to make happen forever, I think it's going to be ripe for adaptation. But that original movie is, if you were to like stack it up against the two Conan movies, it's the weakest of the three. They brought back Schwarzenegger to play a character who's Conan-esque named Lord Calidor, but he's not Conan. I do like that he's sort of her sidekick, which is funny. But Brigitte Nielsen wasn't quite ready to carry a whole movie on her shoulders. The movie wasn't marketed well. It was a bomb. But if you go back and you watch it in succession with the Conan movies, it's really interesting to see it, as a film fan, like how that movie got made. And it's not unwatchable. It's not that bright either. X-Men Days of Future Past is really cool. And I think it gets at what matters most about both eras of X-Men. I do agree about I'm gonna start another hashtag, the Mystique critique. But I that's not enough to undermine the experience of the film for me. I had kind of resigned myself to the whole Jennifer Lawrence-itis of that iteration of the franchise, that they were going that route with her. I got that from First Class pretty fast, and I just kind of resigned myself to it. She wasn't what makes me go back and watch that movie, if that makes any sense. So Days of Future Past, let's see how it does in the next round.
All right. Days of Future Past makes it through. Next up, we have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2014 versus Star Trek for The Voyage Home. Lauren, you seem very excited. I'm going to start with you.
I have been waiting for The Voyage Home since we started this. Of every Star Trek movie I've ever seen, this is my favorite. Part of it is probably a little bit of nostalgia for me. I have mentioned many times my dad is a huge Trekkie. And this was one of the first ones that he showed to me when I was young. And it stuck and it left an impact. I think the cast has so much fun chemistry in this one. It's a little bit more lighthearted than some of the other ones, which, might not be everybody's thing. But I think it's really earnest. I think it's really heartfelt. I think it's really funny. Chekhov asking somebody where they could find nuclear missiles.
Nuclear vessels.
I have so much love for Voyage Home. I think it's one of the best Star Trek movies that they've made. My dad cries every time at the end of the movie and Fred shows up. He will deny that, but he cries every single time. And I think that's something Voyage Home really succeeds at, is that it's just a genuinely really heartfelt movie, and it means what it says, and I love it so much. I've been waiting for this one. That's my pick.
All right, Marisol.
I mean, yay. Yeah, I will second all of that. This is just easily Star Trek 4 for me. It's just so much fun to just. I'm so happy as much as I like many of the original Star Trek movies, but it's just it's so refreshing to see this be like. I feel like the comparison nowadays is like the Thor Ragnarok of the Thor series is like the voyage home to the Star Trek series, those first Star Trek movies. It's just the one where like they were just having so much fun. They just flipped the gear firmly to fun and lighthearted, and just feed so much off of the chemistry of the original cast. And they go on their adventures and in a less like self-serious mode, or they some of them in the terms of Spock are self-serious, and that's why it contrasts. It's just comedic gold the way it contrasts so aggressively with like a bunch of humans in like our world, in our modern world. Seems like a silly high concept idea on paper, but just worked so well when it was made by people who really care about it. Worked so well for the film. Yeah, Voyage Home is great. Don't care about you, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Haven't seen you. Sorry. It's that simple sometimes, folks.
How dare you disrespect Jonathan Liebsman so much? He's
Wait, I'm sorry. Do we not like fart jokes here? I can't tell. All right, because I love fart jokes.
I like fart jokes too, and I know I won't shut up about it. But I'm deeply traumatized by Son of the Mask, and I can't deal with all the farts in that movie that went sideways. So Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2014. I was really rooting for this movie. I love the IP. Grew up with the movies, the show, the comics, the video games, especially were a big deal for me. Love this IP. So when they announced like a big budget reboot, I'm like, I'm here for it. And when I found out Michael Bay was only producing and not directing, I had hope. And when it came out, I watched it and I tried to squint a little bit and you know like be like, okay, maybe this part worked better than I think it did. I don't know. It's not very good. And Star Trek IV: The Voyage Home is pure fun. And it gets at the core of why people fell in love with the original series. Double Dumbass on You is just poetry in every sense of the word. I love that moment. I think Marisol's comparison to Ragnarok is very apt because when The Voyage Home came out, it wasn't about deconstructing the property and making it fun and quippy for a modern audience. It was just about, okay, we're doing a fourth one. So where do we go from here? Well, why don't we just interact with the present moment and see where that goes? And then the fact that like the whale storyline really works, and like I'm invested in it when I'm watching the film, and how everyone has their own separate missions when they go back in time. On top of it all, even though it's a very small detail, I just love how Spock has the headband to hide his ears the whole time, so he looks like a sensei. The Voyage Home is great, and Catherine Hicks is so good in this. She's so pissed off about like people fucking with her whales, and I love how she just stands up for them no matter what, and she will literally die for them and give up her entire life to save them. It's pretty incredible. I think The Voyage Home is one of the best Star Trek movies ever. And I think the 2014 Ninja Turtles did not deliver on a lot of things I wanted.
All right. Mara, are you all...
I'm good. I have been listening in my headphones the whole time. I'd like to let Jesse and Lauren know that I did successfully cut that stitch out, and I did bleed a lot, and I did that for you, and also for myself, and also I feel better because I have my kitty cat ice pack. So,
are you okay?
I am okay, especially because honestly, it gave me so much joy to hear. I was honestly a little worried about this one, only because Voyage Home, I think maybe you just have to be in the right place when you watch it the first time, because like for me, there's a really fine line between sincere and saccharine. And so I know there are some people that find that Voyage Home kind of tips over a little too much into like corny, let's hug each other territory. But for me, it was the very first Star Trek film my parents showed me at a very young age. I love this movie. I love it so much. And bear in mind, the first episode of Star Trek I ever watched was Trouble with Tribbles. So that also explains so much for people that know me. I still say every single time I go anywhere in Chicago, my dad said it every single time we would park anywhere, which was a lot. He would say, everyone remember where we parked. And of course, it was so funny when I was a kid, but I still say it when I go to the grocery store and shit. So I love it. I think that, God, if only we could have looked at the environmental messages in that movie and done any of it, we wouldn't be quite where we are now. I'm sorry, I'm such a downer right now. I'm in a lot of discomfort. However, Lauren is now my spiritual soul animal with Star Trek, and if you don't marry her, Jesse, I will. So
we knew we were going to get one back.
This is making me so happy. I just have so much overwhelming love for this movie. So hearing everybody else too, it feels good.
Oh, well, with that, turtles, and I love all things turtles. Those turtles are an abomination. They are freaky looking, and I don't like them.
Yeah,
too much CGI, man.
Well, with that,
little heads.
Yeah.
With that, Star Trek: The Voyage Home makes it through. We move on to our second last one. We have Back to the Future 3 versus Red 2. Who didn't? Sorry.
I didn't vote.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I got to you. Sorry, Jesse.
All I was gonna say is that I defended this Out of the Shadows because it had Krang and Bebop and Rocksteady, and I got some guilty pleasure out of it. 2014 had nothing but soulless, terrifying missions, and The Voyage Home is wholesome. And thanks to Lauren's dad, out of the new trilogy, it's the first Star Trek movie I ever saw. So it was a great experience. That's all. That's for me. So it's still going through.
All right. Back to the Future Part 3 versus Red 2. Jesse, I am going to start with you because I ignored you last time, apparently. Oh.
He's mad about the sound bite, Swift.
Yeah. Back to the Future Part 3.
Okay. All right, Adam.
You got to have more to say about it than that, right, Jesse? I know you got some passion for Back to the Future, right?
Yeah.
Look,
just not a lot on this one.
Okay, fair enough. All right, so Red 2, I call this a dingbat movie. It's not. We didn't really need a sequel to Red, and when we see where these characters are after the first movie, did I really care that Mary Louise Parker and Bruce Willis ended up together? Not entirely. And Anthony Hopkins shows up and he's batshit in this. There are worse comic book movies out there, to be completely fair to Red 2. And I love Dean Parasot as a director, and Bill and Ted Face the Music, Galaxy Quest, give him some love. But Back to the Future Part 3, I know that people are harder on this movie than the other two, but the reason I like Back to the Future Part 3 as much as I do is because the first two were very invested in the time travel and making all the theory work. And even though it doesn't hold up under scrutiny, as we all know, the effort's there, and the thought is there, and the plotting is there. And thematically, those movies make sense. That's why the science doesn't bother me in Back to the Future at all. And I love those first two movies. I like the third one a lot because it's completely unencumbered by the premise, and it's about just an immersive one-off adventure. And I think it showed us what Back to the Future really is at its core about, going to these different time periods and seeing how you make out. And I think it ties up the franchise pretty well. And as a fan of Westerns, I like all the callbacks in it. And I also just appreciate that they bothered to set up a lot of the jokes in Back to the Future Part 2. I like the setup and I like the delivery in Part 3. I think it's underappreciated. So Part 3, please.
Mari, you all good?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I'm just being lazy. I don't want to hold my arm.
That's fine. That's fine.
I know that I'm not as big on Back to the Future Part 2 as a lot of people, but I really enjoy Part 3. I think it's probably just because I see a lot of kind of similarities in how he and Clara Clayton, blah, 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 bond. Sorry. Enunciation. Just because like Dan and I, the first night we met, we talked about Star Trek The Next Generation all night. And I know it's not the same as finding a shared love of science fiction authors and stuff like that, but just the idea that like a piece of media, whether it was like written form consumption in that period of time or like television media now, can like kind of endear you to someone right away and just kind of make you want to know everything about them. I also like the idea of a train as a time traveling device, because if I were going to time travel, like DeLoreans are so super sick and cool, but with a train, I can have a bar car. So I'm a very big fan of that. I like Red 2. It's fine. It's a serviceable sequel that I didn't need, but I'm not going to revisit it other than for inner geekdom, only because the first one is just so much better. I'm joyous that I actually get to vote for Back to the Future Part 3, because I know that it probably disappointed a lot of people that I just don't have the unabashed love for Part 2 that everyone else does, and I'm okay with that. So at least this time I can throw my chips in the Back to the Future basket.
Marisol.
Yeah. Yeah, we're getting all mix of opinions here. Back to the Future Part 3 is my least favorite of the trilogy. It's a drop down for me. I know some people still hold it in really high regard, but the adventure was just stagnant in this one. We were getting so much time traveling and so much fun with Marty's story. And like I said, I think the adventure was just stagnant. And I think that, we just go back in the first like few minutes of the movie and then that's it. And then we're in the Old West for the entire movie, and it's just a Western. And it's just not. It was a come down for me after the money pot that was all the time travel in Part 2. Still at the same time, these are characters I love so much, and they're so well acted, and it's just so terrific, and it still is so much comfort food to be with these characters, even though the adventure in the movie itself wasn't the most exhilarating or exciting or an old-timer for me. It still feels like home, and it's still great to be with these characters. I don't have any attachment to any of the characters in Red, in the series of Red. They're great actors, and it's fun, to see Helen Mirren and John Malkovich in particular. Like, they're the standouts really of the series, but there's no comfort food element with this. And Red 2, as everybody said, it's fine. It's serviceable, but it's unnecessary sequel. It's purely only made because the first one made money, and without the heart and endurance and depth of character and adoration for characters that the Back to the Future series has. So easily Back to the Future Part 3, even though I'm not crazy about it.
And Lauren.
A lot like.
Steve, wait for 5 seconds.
You need 5 seconds.
I just want the Back to the Future 3 offered up.
You cut out, Jesse.
We've lost them.
Am I back? Am I back?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, now you are.
Okay. Say best thing that offers will appearance in A Million Ways to Die in the West. That's all.
That's it.
I think similarly to Taylor, I don't have the same like nostalgic attachment to Back to the Future that a lot of you do, and that's not a criticism at all. They just don't affect me the same way. I think they're good movies. For some reason, though, Back to the Future 3 is the one that I have the most attachment to, and that I remember the most, and I don't know why that is. Like I said, maybe it's maybe it's my love for like swashbuckling.
Maybe it's Maybelline.
I don't know. Those kind of adventures affect me more. I don't know. I don't have a good reason for it, but Back to the Future 3, and it's one of the movies that like makes me happy, I guess. I have a lot of love for the Red movies. I think this one was a big step down. I do think Mary Louise Parker is the best part of both of them. She is so much fun as the person who got thrown into an adventure she wasn't ready for. But I'll do Back to the Future 3.
All right. Well, with that, Back to the Future Part 3 makes it through to the next round. We're at our final matchup, guys. We've made it.
We did it.
Final matchup. All right. Marisol, you may start with The Avengers versus Alien 3.
I think everybody just cringes when they see an MCU movie come up and I have to talk about it. They brace themselves. But no. Avengers, I think the first Avengers is fun. It is fun. I don't quite like my hero moment spoon fed to me, and that does happen many times in this film, but it is still such a great coming together of everything that Marvel set out to do with their first introduction films, and they took a gamble with this, and I think it was mostly pretty successful. And I think the Avengers is fun. And it was exciting to see, for me, these characters that I had no attachment to be excited to see them all together. For something that the films had actually created, that it's not like something where the Justice League, where I already had excitement for these characters and I'm just waiting for decades to finally see them in a film. Avengers, my appreciation for them actually grew with each movie that I was watching in the MCU for them. It was actually happening in real time and seeing, like, show me what you've got. And then I came to like these characters and then cared about seeing them the next year in a movie together. And so in that regard, Avengers really succeeds with that. Alien 3 it has a jumble of ideas, but is so it's too low budget. It's like pretty much like a prison movie with a smattering of aliens in it. Ripley is always the highlight, but it's a weird setting. It's a very odd movie, an odd jumble of ideas, and having her trapped there with all these rapists and scary men would almost be an interesting movie just by itself. But with the alien in and with these new ideas of her connection to the alien, I do like that moving forward. But I think that Alien is just Alien 3 or Alien Cube is just a weaker effort. Interesting but dull, and absolutely not one of my favorites in the Alien series. So I'm gonna give it to Avengers here because of everything that I said, and this movie deserves credit for that. So the Avengers.
Adam?
Yeah, I want to give love to the threequels tonight. T3 was the first. Alien 3, I like a little bit more than Marisol, but I agree with her criticisms. I have sympathy for Alien 3 because, it's Fincher's debut feature. It's this long-awaited sequel to Aliens that did not deliver for a lot of fans of the franchise at the time, but over time people go back to it, they're more kind to it. I think thematically there's a lot of interesting stuff in this movie. I wish Charles Dance had been in it more because I found his character interesting, and then the movie just decided we'll move on from that, and it's like, okay. So I was a little frustrated with how I would get invested in certain aspects of the story, and the movie just went in a different direction. Not that I wanted it to follow a predictable path. I just wanted I wanted characters to be around a little bit longer to deliver on the setup. I I also agree with the age old complaint about Newt and Hicks, being out at the beginning. That's very frustrating because we are so invested in their survival, and their exclusion in Alien 3 feels so arbitrary. That's frustrating. All that in mind, the Avengers was an unprecedented event. And I think what's special about it is when it mixed all these characters together, it worked better than a lot of us expected it to. And I think it opened up possibilities for, what these kind of movies could be going forward for not just Marvel, but anybody. And when I go back and watch the first Avengers movie, I still laugh at all the jokes. I still cheer at all the action. I think it's one of the stronger Marvel movies in the current series, and I have no problem with it going forward. But I think Alien 3 is very interesting.
All right. Lauren.
So my fun story about the Avengers is that I saw it opening night on my prom night. And I told my date, I said, I am going to watch the Avengers at midnight. You're welcome to join me. If you don't, I'm still going. So, and I did just that. I sat there in the theater in my prom dress and had the time of my life. Kind of opposite of Marisol, growing up with the dad that I did, I had been waiting for this Avengers movie my whole life. And my goodness, that has to be still one of my favorite theater experiences of all time. Seeing them in that scene all together, like somebody in the comments said in the circle, was like such like a religious experience, seeing them all together like that. I think everything that worked about the Avengers when it came out still does. I think it's a comic book come to life that I think works really, really well. I think Joss Whedon doesn't always succeed, but I think the first Avengers was a huge success for him. I love it dearly, and I am excited to throw my vote that way.
Mara.
This is such an exciting one to end on. I like Alien probably perhaps more than I should. Some of that might just be the fact that I just love xenomorphy things. I do think that it's inherently flawed in its cinematography because while I love when movies withhold monsters from me, whether it's intentionally or unintentionally, like Jaws, the fact that they want to show me things but I can't see them is very frustrating to me visually. But I also think, just from a personal standpoint, Charles Dance is like so swoon worthy, but if Ripley, who is just like smoking hot, hair or no hair, is gonna bone a guy, it's gonna be Hicks, and he's dead, and I'm very upset about this. So just from a headcanon standpoint, I'm very, very disappointed in her. But man, Avengers, I'm much higher on Captain America, the First Avenger than most people are. And so I was just like writing right into that movie, like, give me more Captain America. I'm thrilled for this. I also think that even with its flaws, because it's not perfect, it earned the team up movie. Like they worked to get themselves there in a way that sadly, like the DCEU didn't really earn for itself, even with rectifying that later. So I have a lot of affection for the idea of what it gave to us and what it allowed to come after. Because even with the DCEU trying to follow a more abbreviated model, I've still gotten so much joy out of that, and it wouldn't have happened if it weren't for a movie like The Avengers. I also have to give it so much credit because one of the few things I remember from my match with Rachel is that final question, which was from The Avengers. So I would like to thank Captain America once again, because I wouldn't be anywhere near where I am in a match that I was never supposed to win and still barely did. So I'm very thrilled to vote for The Avengers, but I do enjoy revisiting Alien 3.
All right, Jesse.
I also want to share my theatrical experience a little bit with Avengers because Lauren reminded me of it. This is the first and only time I've done this successfully. But when we were approaching the opening logo after the first scene of the film, and the title card comes up, I just shouted "Assemble" at the screen, and there was this wave of like 5 rows of people that just screamed "Assemble" back at me at the top of their lungs, and I have never felt that in a movie since. I tried doing that with Last Jedi, where I was like, Luke, and nobody cared, and I was like, okay. One time,
chasing that high, Jesse.
Avengers is great. I think it versus I believe Joss Whedon wrote both of those. That was fun pitting against each other. Alien 3, yeah, it's a big step down from from Aliens, and Avengers is not really a step down from anything. It's the culmination. It's a really great time. I think actually effectively parts of Avengers works even better as a horror movie than Alien 3 did because of what they did with Hulk and how they treated him with respect for once, and made him a frightening figure. And I love the monster take on that. There's a lot of things I can say about Avengers. I'm anticipating having more opportunity to talk about it, so it gets my vote. And yay!
All right, tell.
Yeah, this is an interesting one for me. I think because I see the potential in Alien 3 and it just frustrates me what we kind of never got out of it. Because as much as I dislike that we open the movie with her being alone again, because we see her fight through this entire movie to not be alone when she escapes. And then the beginning of 3, she's, horror strikes, like she's alone all over again. It's basically a reset button. And if we're going to do that, I wish the movie would have then like really given us more time to deal with her grief on a different level. Cause then like, I get it. Like Charles Dance is there and it's like, I get it. But I don't know. I have issues with it because I think like as a woman watching it, like I was having trouble with what her narrative ended up being, and like just the fact that she's basically stuck in this prison of all men, and just I don't know, it was a little bit messy for me in a lot of places, and I kind of wish I watch it and I think about what could have been with the story they were trying to tell, unfortunately, especially because she's just such a great character to spend time with in general. The Avengers for me was a huge thing. I grew up with 2 different dads who were very much into comic books. My dad collected comic books. My stepdad is a huge movie person. And he took me to see the first Iron Man movie when it came out. And then from there, it was just like I was sucked into this whole thing and I was never going to get out. So The Avengers was a huge, huge movie for me when it came out. Up to that point, it has been beaten since, but up to that point, it was the movie I had seen most times in theaters. I went to see it with my friends a bunch of times and ended up seeing it a total of 7 times in the theaters between my dad and my friends and like everything else. So it was a huge, huge moment for me. So I have to pick The Avengers.
All right. And with that, The Avengers makes it through to the next round. Guys, we got through it.
We did it.
All righty.
I lost track.
We did better, but not great.
We did slightly better than last week. Slightly. Not great. We are still over from last week.
What do
we
we
talk
got
for like 20 more minutes if you want and just ruin it.
I mean, there could be a few bit of swearing at me because I'm about to preview next week's.
Oh, God. Here we go.
We have Aliens, Batman Forever, Big Hero 6, Chronicles of Narnia, Prince Caspian, Bumblebee, Captain America Civil War, Catwoman, Mad Max The Road Warrior, Dread, Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer, Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, Green Lantern, Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, Power Rangers, RoboCop, The Crow, City of Angels, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, Hellboy, Deadpool 2, Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, Kick-Ass, Men in Black International, Shazam, the animated Lord of the Rings, Star Trek First Contact, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, Superman Returns, Taylor's favorite Bloodshot, The Rocketeer, Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance, The Dark Knight Rises, and Star Wars The Clone Wars. Do you guys want some teasers?
I feel like I don't, but sure.
I think we should do some teasers. All right.
You just want to see us get pissed off, Jacob.
Oh, that's a good one.
Wow.
Oh, that's hurt. That's ouchy.
Yeah. I knew there was going to be 1 week that was just a ton of Harry Potter.
No.
Oh boy. I know. Yeah.
Okay.
Why?
Guys, that's
Jacob.
this week's.
Jacob, you are one meddling ass.
Guys,
Jacob.
Ill
These have
wishes.
seemed more engineered than the last ones. I'm highly.
They're
suspect
not. None of these are engineered. That's the thing. Like, these have not been engineered.
Do you remember how the first week we did this, it was relatively like fun and easy? The randomizer was like, oh, ha, ha, nope.
So yeah, that's next week, guys.
We'll see if any of them want to return next week after seeing that.
But thank you so much to everyone. I'm going to very quickly go around the board. Marisol, where can people find you online?
Right here, it seems like. But this is where I live, like online. This is the most I've ever been online. It's like on the show for like a month. But yeah, I am popping up on Letterboxd and Twitter sometimes with the same handle, Marisol_Mariah, MIRIAH. And then next month, I'm going to play for the singles belt. So you can see me on Schmodown doing that thing too. That's a little thing I do. So that's next month. But yeah, that's it.
Very excited for that. Thank you, Marisol. And we will see you next week.
Can we give a round for Marisol?
She's great. Yes.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Jackals, where can we find you guys online?
I like the way that you pronounced that. Really did feel like the emphasis on jackholes, but
I didn't mean that.
I've earned it. If you could be an asshole, I'll be a jackhole. And then this is an asshole. You can find us and me right here. See, look, I got a cool present, a cool bachelor party present.
Yeah, that's where you can find him. Yeah, right there.
The Flick and Reel fan cast. So that's my new skateboard. We just had a awesome, huge 7-hour-long bachelor party stream with lots of guests from the Schmodown, like Koijan, Drew.
Just Koi.
Just Koi.
And Adam was on there as well, and we all had a great time.
So,
That about sums up how our show has been.
I think that perfectly sums up this show.
Yeah. No one can get internet to function.
No,
it's a
not
whole,
today.
It's a whole thing.
Well, guys, thank you very much for joining us, and we will see you next week. Their links are in the description down below. Adam, where can they find you online?
My handle is right there for your convenience, Letterboxd and Twitter. And while I suffered a tough loss, I am so excited to get into the tournament in the Schmodown. That is going to be a barn burner, so keep your eyes peeled for that. And yeah, Marisol's got a big match next month. I'm so excited that I bought a ticket. I'm going to go see it live at the Cantina of Scum and Villainy. You guys should do the same thing. Tickets are still on sale, and it's in LA. It's going to be amazing. I'm just so excited that we have Erwin and Marisol playing each other is really cool. I'm just saying that. It's going to be a really great match. So check it out. That's all I got to say tonight. See you around.
All right, guys. Thank you very much, Adam. And Mara, where can they find you online?
Myself, Muffin, and Sir Pounce are routinely found in this corner of our studio. I'd also like to point out that Taylor gave me your home address, and you should be very concerned. I'm displeased with some of what I'm going to have to experience next week. It might be safe for me to start drinking next week. That being said, Muffin and Sir Pounce are delighted as always to join you. Thank you so much for having me, despite any ire I throw your way, all of it in jest. So thrilled to just be a part of this group of people every week. It's the highlight of my week. Also, next week on The Basement, we're possibly going to be watching Cats with Our Cats. If we meet our goal. And then we have our stretch goal of the double feature of Cats and Catwoman with our cats. So I might have to put my cats through that. If any of you other cat people like the Jackals would like to join in with your cat, please let me know. If not, I lurk around Dan Murrell's things, all the things that are spelled Dan Murrell.
Well, thank you very much, and we will see you next week. And good luck with that. Good luck with Catwoman and cats. That's gonna be something. Good luck, guys. That was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun this week. There were a lot of hot takes, a lot of opinions, a lot of swearing, a lot of just there was a lot happening. There was a lot of emotions, a lot of passion coming out. You know, it's what we hope for. It's what you hope for.
Next week's going to be. We are also past halfway of like the round one.
I know.
Next week we are officially past halfway.
I know.
Which
We're
is
getting
insane.
There. We're getting there, and it's only going to get worse because after we get past round one, we then have to go to round two, which is the things people actually liked are really gonna go
then you're
through.
gonna have two good things going up against each other, or potentially. So
thank you to everyone who hung out with us live. We love when you chime in the chat and give us all of your thoughts and opinions and your own hot takes. We really appreciate you taking the time to take 3+ hours out of your day to spend time with us.
Thank you for joining us on your Sunday nights. It is a lot of fun. And we really enjoy this each and every week, and I cannot wait to do this again next week. It's going to be a lot of fun.
It's going to be a lot of fun. If you guys want to find us on social media, all our links are down in the description. Our Patreon link is down there as well if you want to check out the other content that we are working on. Your support means everything to us, guys. Thank you so much, and we will see you next week.
We will. Bye.